Hello, welcome to the Honest Wargamer, and most importantly, the best show of the week, the Age of Sigmar Monday show, with me, your host Rob, and my co-host for celebrating it today, Nathan. 6 years.
6 years today.
6 years today, baby.
Wow.
Congratulations. Yeah, and
it's a long run.
Since
It's
the
nearly
beginning,
17 years.
Exactly, soon. That's it. I'd like everyone to know that's a reference to Nathan's ex-marriage, which is very funny for us, but not really funny for anyone else. And we're also joined by Dan, who's been a fucking stan from the start, an OG and a gangster. Dan, how are you?
I'm great. I've been here since Dispossessed were a thing, and now that they're not a thing, I don't know who I am anymore. I've lost my purpose, I've lost my personality, and I've lost the will to live completely. So I don't know what happens now.
Originally, you were known as Dispossessed Dan, but your Twitter handle's always been Dan Unsupervised, and that has always reminded. That makes me think a lot more about you. Like when I'm like, what, Dan's unsupervised right now? Fucking sort that out. That's a mess.
So I think that started as a joke when I was a child, because it was, like people tell stories where it's like, oh, you take your eyes off your kids for like 2 seconds and they disappear or whatnot. I never disappeared. I would just manage a level of chaos that was never proportionate to the amount of time that I hadn't been around. And I think that just kind of has stuck. And to everyone in the chat, talking about liberators and elves and all of that jazz, you can just go do something that would probably get this video demonetized by YouTube if you were to do it. But I'm a beast's boy now. I'm a hairy beast boy.
Dan, we're a proper podcast. Fuck you, YouTube. Fuck you. Right?
Yeah. No, actually, Rob, this is gonna blow your mind. I was watching back one of the shows on YouTube the other day, and I did what I never do, which is I just duck into the comments. I had a little boop boop into the comments. Some of them were really nice. Rob, to some of the thugs there, I think they were like the Grinch. Their heart had grown 2 sizes too big. Yeah. And they were giving compliments, Rob.
Yeah.
In the YouTube comments.
Dan, don't fall for it. Yeah. Do not fall for it. Yeah, it's a trap. Yeah, they'll lure you in for a dinner, and then they're gonna fucking kick you right in the shins. I'm not having any of it. Right? My heart always will and forever. Twitch chat, as you know, they're my soul, but my heart's always going to be for the Hydro homies. Pour one out to all my YouTube thugs out there. Well, not YouTube thugs, podcast bros. Yeah, because you guys are keeping it. Yeah, and if you YouTube thugs don't like it, please do comment, because which drives the algorithm, and it's really helpful. Also, like and subscribe. Appreciate that.
Say mean comments to Rob and really nice comments to me. Maybe that'll be the balance. Make me feel good.
Right, so
I'll love you, YouTube. I'll love you. Rob can disown you, but I will adore you endlessly, because the Hydro homies can't comment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, water sucks.
Water sucks. Okay. All right. Fucking. I can't believe we've been off the air. We've missed such quality like that. Yeah. Right, anyway, so obviously we haven't been doing some shows for a while. We'll talk about that in a moment. Nathan the Age of Sigmar Monday show hasn't been going for a while. But hopefully it's back to its regular schedule of Monday night, 7 p.m. UK time on Twitch. And if you do ever want to join in with us, the chat is full of legends like JJ Number 10, who's just subscribed, Kid with Sids.
Oh, wow. Sweet.
Kenny Lull, a bunch of legends.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want to ever hang out with us on a Monday and jump in the chat, please do. That'd be super cool. We'll start off with, now we're going to do a couple of things. The show is going to be mainly about what are armies of renown, which is super like what even are they? And like Dan might have been keeping up to date. Nathan 100p has not been keeping up to date. Yeah.
What is Warhammer?
What?
What? So, do we still use 6-sided dice?
We do, yeah. But like in some cases, they're square now, and they all have to be dissolvable in a toilet. It's become a very complicated world out there since we've been gone.
What?
Yeah, I know, Nath. It's really tough. Also, Nath, I can't wait to ask you about match fixing. How much would you, if you were a tournament organizer, how much would I have to pay you to fix a match for me? Just like sort of pairing out. If I was like, I want to play gym, how much? Not that gym.
How much are the beers at the bar?
It's a great question. Bugman's £8. Anywhere else? So how much?
16 quid then, please.
2 beers.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, let's do it in units. Right. Okay. Listen, everyone in the chat, everyone listening at home. Nathan's been away. We're going to catch up. Then we're going to talk to Dan. Nathan, you've been away. What have you been doing? Why is it that you have not been here? So we haven't been able to record the show. What's been going on in your life?
I have been there.
You've been here specifically at the venue, nowhere near.
Didn't you notice? Didn't you hear that? Thunk. You even brought me some coffee. That was
I did.
nice.
It was
nice
nice.
coffee thing. Mm.
Got that for my birthday last week. It was great. So
Yeah.
talk to me. Tell me what you've been doing.
Just been helping out with the venue, trying to get it so that people can distribute the urine more further over the property rather than just concentrating it in one place.
Perfect.
Wait, Nath, have you been creating some kind of trough or like catch system? Because I thought the purpose of a toilet was to concentrate where that went. Like like what kind of a plumber are you? Because I just got some questions. If you're like, what do we want? Equal distribution is not the answer that I ever want in a toilet. It is like I want concentrated. I want focused. Give me 1 to 2 places and it all goes there, please.
Yeah, but you want it so that the people don't have to go all into the same place. What's this? My computer's asking me to do something. Go away.
Oh man, shouts at Cloud. All right, no. So you've moved house, right? That's where it all started. You moved house.
Yes, that as well. Yes, I moved house. Look, new curtains.
Perfect. How's the move gone?
All right. There's lots of stuff unpacked and still lots of stuff packed. So yeah, about right for having moved house. Yeah.
Perfect. And this is a place you and the partner have you've bought, right? Like you're in it now, long term. Commitment.
Another toe on the old ladder. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Wow.
The commitment ladder.
How you feeling about the commitment ladder? Good.
Yeah, it's all right. She can't get away now. Easily, anyway.
It's because she's tied up, mate. That's why.
Pretty much, yeah. New house got a cellar.
Well, congratulations from me, the Twitch chat, and Dan, and everyone.
Oh,
can we get some love for Nathan for moving in with his life partner? That's pretty amazing news. That's very cool.
Oh.
We love that. Housewarming gifts. Is there a housewarming party coming up?
Yeah, sure. We can arrange one.
Okay.
Yeah, but not one that anyone will remember afterwards, right?
No. Some people might not survive. That's cool. No, yeah, we can. We'll get onto that. But unpack some more things first.
All right, good. All right, well, lovely. And then you've also then been, as you said, fixing up the toilet at the venue because it was in a disastrous shape. We took over the downstairs of the venue at the TSN Arena, and then the downstairs toilet wasn't even what I would describe as serviceable. Is there a technical term as a builder for could you describe the state of it?
It was pretty bollocks. There was no the floor was rotting away.
It was.
Would you say it was, Nathan? Would you say it was a punami?
Yeah, it was a proper dank-cold. That's what it was. There was loads of mushrooms growing everywhere and everything.
It was really
and
good.
Weirdly, half of any time a group of people disappeared, half their number would re-emerge from the toilet, which was really disturbing.
Exactly. Yeah, they'd walk out the front door, and half of them would come back in through the toilet door.
All right, good. So because it's been so busy moving in, and then for some reason you decided to choose a Monday every week to come and do the work. You're like I'm here today. I'm like, remember what Monday is normally? And you're like, oh, no idea. What do we do? And I'm like, it's been 6 years, mate. 6 years.
6 years. 11 to go.
11. It's like we're locked into 17. Everything after that, dealer's choice. All right.
What happens after that? I move on. I'm sorry. It's the way it works. I'm going to find a new show, a new host, a new podcast. That's it. It's a statute of limitations or whatever.
So get your votes in now if you'd like Nathan in 11 years for your show. Right now, get your bids in. Right. So have you had any chance to play any Warhammer because you've been so busy?
No.
Okay.
I've been busy with house stuff, work stuff, land stuff, toilet stuff.
I think
stuff.
this is something that kind of happens to podcasts, right? Like, obviously, I work full time creating content for them as Wargamer, like, and then eventually everyone's like, Dan might be like, oh, I'm about to be on a shoot now for 6 months. I'll see you later, boys. Like, and I think that's definitely why podcasts, eventually fall apart. So I'm glad that we're back, in motion. Dan, you've gone nowhere, and in fact, as well as not going anywhere, you've committed to the bit. How have you been? And then you're also a tournament champ now. What's going?
Well, let's be clear, not champ, but a 4-1-er, which it's been
Huge.
a hot minute since I've gone a decent 4-1. But yeah, I've been good. I've been great. I'm on a war dolly kind of renaissance at the moment. For the event, I'd fully converted up an army, and then I was slowly painting it, and then I realized if I went hard, I could paint that army for the event. And I did nothing but like every moment of free time was painting for about 2.5 weeks straight, to the point where I finished and it's finally starting to go away. But I had like this thick callus here on my hand,
Really?
from where the hand that holds the miniature would rest against the table. And because it was spending so many hours a day, it just slowly wore up, and so now it's flaking off. So I suffered from my art. I suffered. I had an ouchie. Anyway, but I got the army done, which was awesome because it's been at least 4 years since I did a full army paint that I just loved every second of painting it. Like, it was really satisfying. I was really happy with how it came out. I fully converted a Beast of Chaos army because I wasn't a huge fan of all the miniatures, and then like when I converted one unit, the other units didn't match anymore. So then I had to convert and then eventually I just converted the whole army, and there's not a single Beast of Chaos miniature in my Beast of Chaos army except for the Herdstone, which is also converted because I sunk too much into it. I had a great time though. The event was awesome. I will say I chose Beasts of Chaos because after watching a bunch of incredible players at Worlds play Beasts of Chaos, I saw it and I was like, this army is going to be very fucking hard for me to play. And I reckon I'll get better if I learn to play this army. And if I can play this army well, I will have leveled up. I will have gone Super Saiyan level 2 or something like that, like the next little step up in getting better. Plus I loved how it played. And so I went and did that. And I played a bunch of practice games with a mate who we call it the Fight Right Club, because when we play our practice games, we kind of have this really open, like, free gaming discussion where we can make mistakes and take stuff back and like learn how our armies work, and it's great fun. And so I got there and I went 4-1, which was awesome. I had 5 wicked games, 2 against club mates that I've never played before, 5 different armies, and it was wild. And probably the game I lost was against Carson, who is the Meat King. He won a golden ticket from the event, and he is absolutely slaying with this wonderful toolbox Ogre More Tribes list. And he's known as the Meat King in the Pacific Northwest for a very good reason, because he does things with those thick lads that just he deserves the title. Anyway, so he's a ledge. We played. He got the win over me because he basically dangled some bait. And in my head, I was like, it was that scene from Mad Max. I'm like,
Australian bait.
I was like, that's bait. That's
what was it? What was it? It was a barbecued kebab. Is that what it was?
No, it was a stone horn. It was a stone horn, which is meat. Like I saw that and I was like, ooh, that's a thick steak right there. Anyway, he dropped it. He just put the bait out there, and I was like, I know that's bait. But oh baby, I'm gonna fuck you right up. I'm gonna take this bait, and I'm gonna. Anyway, he was right. It was bait, and I tried to out ogres, and I got out ogred. But so I lost that game. But my other games, I played Sylvaneth with a big shooty bow list that forced me to adapt how I was playing turn 1. It came right down to turn 4. It was great. That was against Sean. He was a ledge. Beautiful Sylvaneth army there as well. Maybe my assistant, the help I had on that one was I've been practicing with a bloke who was playing Sylvaneth, so I was pretty up on their stuff. played a game against Korn, which was absolutely wild. It was probably my most tense game of the tournament, and the bloke I played was just a total fucking legend. He was the best, and we had a really good, really competitive game. And it was also a lovely game where, like where we'd pre-measured things and been like, well, like I did this and I chose this battle tactic because of it, and then during the actual turn maybe hadn't completely moved a unit far enough and went, well, is it okay if I bump them there? When we measured it, they were, and they've come out, like all of that. So it was a great game. It was super tactical, but it was really great. And it felt fun because we both had movement shenanigans. Like he was murder lusting into combat to tie me up, and I was using bullgors to charge backwards away from stuff I wanted to kill, but to land on objectives and take objectives in the backfield where there was maybe like a little unit left on. And that game in particular, it was awesome. I think his name was Alex. Gosh, I'm so sorry if I got your name wrong. I felt like I really leveled up in that game in particular. It was a blinder.
Honestly, Dan, there needs to be a podcast, or at least a YouTube show for podcasters who go to events, because we need like at least like a printout, so we write down everyone's name.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we look like now you're looking like a complete arsehole, right?
Yeah. But let's remember, I was playing against Korn, so.
Oh yeah, okay. So he's an arsehole. Yeah. Oh, okay. Fuck him. Fuck YouTube and fuck him.
No. I'm on YouTube. I don't like the Hydro homies. Remember? That's
sorry.
This beautiful dichotomy.
Anyway,
fuck water. Nathan's got hired by Nestle. Sorry, Dan. Carry on.
Yeah, good. I played a bunch of awesome games. I loved it. I played a clubmate who was playing Gits, and he yeeted a Mangler Squig across the board into Be'lakor turn 1 and almost lifted him by like 3 wounds. And I was like, that was my fucking game right there. Like if he did 3 more wounds. So I just had the best time. It was a great event. I got Coolest Army, which made the weeks of hardcore painting super worth it. But I loved the Beasts of Chaos. They were a great army to play. And thank you to some Norwegian dude in the chat for continuing what seems to be the chat tradition of shaming me with gift subs when I forget to resubscribe.
Doesn't subscribe to his own show, doesn't remember people's names. What the fuck, Dan?
I've got it written down. I have my book. It's just not in this room. I have them all. I love you all. Anyway, it was an awesome tournament. I had a great idea. I've been trying to get to that tournament for 4 years. Kippers. So it's over on Vancouver Island, which is just off of Vancouver. And I'd
time for a classic tournament report. Classic tournament report. You ready? I'm going to ask you some questions. Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
Table height. How was it?
Table height was slightly low, but it not by much. But what I will say, huge room. So there was 3 spaces. So one in between. There was only 2 tables to a length of tables, and there was a good amount. There was at least a foot in between the 2 tables of blank table space, and then half a foot at either end of blank table space. So there was tons of room for side tabling. The tables themselves maybe a bee's dick low, but they weren't too low.
Okay, all right, not too low. All right, okay. And also, not too low. And you're a good. You're a Tinder.
6 foot, yeah.
You're a Tinder 6 foot. Yeah.
No, I'm a regular 6 foot. If I was on Tinder, I'd be 6'4". But I'm a human 6.
And then terrain. How was the terrain?
Terrain was great. There might have been maybe a couple of tables that were a little bit softer, but I didn't see them anywhere. I don't think we played on them. All the terrain, the Pacific Northwest has a great kind of collection of people and terrain that rocks around to most events. It was awesome. Every table had the full 8 pieces going on, and then I think in round 1 they were like, hey everyone, if you just check your tables, if you see that maybe the terrain isn't great, come let us know, because we have a bunch of spare pieces and we'll swap it out to make sure that every table has a good spread of terrain.
Okay, all right, perfect. So, yeah. All right, nice. How was the food?
Food was possibly maybe the one little letdown. It wasn't so much that it was bad, it was just that you had, between all of the events and tournaments going on, the venue, the convention center, had only put on like 1 or 2 people serving for all of those. So like by the time I got my food, the next round had started. So I was like in between things, just like cramming food. And then I was the one of only a couple of people who brought a chess clock, because the rules pack said if you want to play on a chess clock, play on it. And I, in my practice with the beasts, had noticed that I needed my turn 4 and 5.
Okay.
And if I have a nothing turn 1, if my turn 1 takes 10 minutes or less, it's very easy for my opponent to try to outthink what I'm going to do turn 1, turn 2, and take up a ton of time. And then they need turns 3, 4, and 5 as well. And I end up not having enough. So I said it to all my opponents. I was like, look, this is one of the first times in the Vancouver area that we're using them, and I'm a big fan of it. So if it gets down to the bottom end and it's clear, when I'm not going to sweat about clocking anybody out, but if it's tight, this is my time and I need turn 5 to have a chance. And they were like, yeah, that's totally fair. So that was super cool. But it meant that when your round, for me, did go full round time, I'd be like dashing over to try and get a drink or something to eat, and then I'd be eating. And one of the games, I like kind of put the clock onto my time, and I was like, I'm so sorry, can I take 5 minutes to finish this sandwich? And I just sat there on the clock just eating my sandwich in shame. That was great. Yeah, cool. So that was the food.
So then toilets, how were they, and what was the hand drying situation?
Toilets were great. Toilets were well maintained. If you alerted any of the venue staff or the event organizer if there was an issue, lack of paper, lack of cleanliness, they got sorted out.
Hand dryer or paper towel? Connoisseur's choice.
Both.
Both?
Yes, you could select.
You can have a whole bath in there then, basically.
Yeah, you literally, yeah, it was great. I had an awesome conversation with one of my opponents and then a gentleman in the stall during it. It's the first time I've seen convention toilets that were, like usually the toilets in a convention are a silent space. And even if you were to go in with someone, you go in and it's cone of silence. No, this was a very conversational one. So you could be at the trough having a conversation with someone in the stall, and you'd never meet them. We shared some great times.
No, that's a no from me. That's not. That is, where is this? Vancouver Island? Never. I'm never going to there. They sound fucking awful. I go for a piss and some bloke is just shouting out the door, like, all right, mate, how's it going? I'm like, fuck off. I'm pissing. I hate that guy. Let's get him, Dan.
No, I had the best time. We shared, there was, lots of life conversations had, and I had a very good time. Now, I'm not saying everyone did that, but it definitely happened a few times. And
Wait,
even
Dan,
times that I didn't instigate it.
Dan,
Yeah.
was it you instigating it?
It wasn't just me every time.
Wait. Are you like, also I've been to this event in Texas. Everyone in the box kept talking to me. I was like, wait, hold on. Is it you? Was it like this at Worlds?
It wasn't. I was actually talking to a few people at Worlds about clocks, and I was like, one of the things I found really interesting was you could tell how well someone's game was going by how quickly they went to the toilet. Like if they were, you'd see, like Tom Guan would saunter slowly and really, really take his time. But then every now and then you'd just see someone like power sprinting at a full length just to there and back to their table, because like this dude's not spending more than 10 seconds on a Wii.
On a Wii. Just wrapping it up as he's doing it up. Just going. All right, great. Okay, good. Well, congratulations on doing so well with your beasts. Are you because that's your first event in, like you said, 4 years. You've emigrated since because you played loads in Australia, and then obviously that fake virus happened. So
that one, yeah. Well, so like this event. Sorry, I was saying I've bought 4 tickets to this event, and I've only finally gone. The first year there was like a hurricane level windstorm that stopped boats from getting across, so you couldn't go. And then I think there was like the Coco Vovo, and then last year I got dragged off to a work thing out in the middle of butt fuck nowhere just before it happened. And so this year, like the lead up to it, I was just waiting for the boot to drop and be like, yeah, nah, you can't go, mate. So I had the best time. I had a great time. And my club was out in force. There was a ton of folks there. And it was really cool because it's been a long time since we've actually had a big group of the club together. So it was just awesome seeing all of them.
Has it lit a fire under you for, more events, or that's not really possible based on where you are?
I will say, there's at least 2 events coming up early next year, which I'm super pumped for. It's lit a fire on me on armies, so I'm back to converting a death army because I'm super excited about my dead elves. So everyone in the chat who's been giving me shit about playing elves, yeah, they're all gonna be dead though, because the only thing better than a dwarf is a dead elf, and I'm gonna be playing an army of dead elves. But they're not going to be elves; they're going to be dead.
Or undead.
Yeah, undead. Yeah. They're going to be re-dead.
Double dead.
They're super dead. They died. They came back. They died again. Whatever that
Game
Mad
of
Max
Thrones
quote.
Wait,
I live. I die. I live again.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, for events it's rad. The trick is from being on the West Coast. A lot of the like east and southern ones in the US are very tricky to get to and very expensive to get to. So it's just a question of cost and travel. But dang, I'm so frothy for events. I'm so excited.
Oh, good. All right. Well, that's lovely to hear. That's lovely to hear. Nathan, obviously, because you've been so busy now, is everything back to being settled? Have you started to look at? Oh, maybe you'll try and give the Gits a run out, or any ideas on that front?
Well, I've got that War in the Heartlands.
Are you going to War in the Heartlands?
Yeah, so
amazing.
As part of the helping out, I get to go and play there as well. So, yeah. But
that's a huge event.
Still in boxes somewhere, so I'm gonna have to dig out some dudes.
Have you heard the drama right now?
No.
About War in the Heartlands. Okay, so some big internet beef right now. So some inquisitive minds online, specifically me, was tweeting the TO asking if this New Cities book was legal. And the New Cities book, and then he just said the Cities book is legal. So then loads of people took that as the Cities of Sigmar book, the new one, which I don't know if you kept up, but currently we're in a 2-week pre-order when the book has already been out for 4 months.
2 months.
Or 2 months or whatever. But then also was leaked 2 months before that. So like the app and also War Scroll Builder, not Battlescribe, I hate those guys. But like that's all also got all the old stuff in, so you can't build your lists. But the TO did tweet and say the Cities book is legal, which caused a fury because everyone's like, which Cities book? Which people like cats and dogs, like buildings are on fire, churches were just being ripped down as they should, and then like it's just just a terrible series of events. And then he hasn't clarified yet, so hopefully maybe you might be able to get some clarity on that. I'm not sure if you know. I guess it's a good question to ask for you, Dan, and you, Nathan. Earlier on in Age of Sigmar, I was very much like no FAQ, no play. But but Games Workshop have been very slow on the FAQs recently. They used to have a promise of it being 2 weeks after a book came out, you would get an FAQ. But that has long since been something they haven't done. So kind of where do you sit on that? Like, where do you, Nathan, I know the answer is you don't give a fuck, but like, what, like, if you were to be a TO for War in the Heartlands, where would you sit?
Oh, that's a tough one because you do know that some of the books definitely need an FAQ because they've dropped a bollock in them.
Correct. Good terminology. Technical.
Yeah. So
it's what they say in the design industry. Yeah, we dropped a bollock on them. Yeah.
Year 2 of my graphic design course, dropping a bollock, how not to.
Yeah, and how to resolve a dropped bollock. That's the other one. Like it's not just recognizing, it's repairing.
Yeah.
So, I guess the problem is nobody wants to play with the old book, though, do they?
Nah.
Ever, not once the new book's been out for 6 months or whatever it is, 2 years. Yeah. Even if it has got a drop bollock. So I think Yeah, it's a tough one. If it's just a small tournament, fucking just let let the drop bollock have a go, swing their drop bollocks around.
Nice.
But if it's like a bigger one where people are getting more serious about where their bollocks are, then maybe you should temporarily patch some bollocks into it
Okay.
yourself. Yeah.
So do the bollock repair yourself. Don't wait for big balls to get involved.
That's right. That's all.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Dan, I guess it's the same question to you. What are your thoughts?
I think similar to what Nathan said, for me it depends, you as a TO, what kind of event are you running? Is it a fun like community event where maybe it's not as focused on like competitive best general best on table play, in which case then yeah, go for your life, let it in. But if your point is I'm running a competitive event and you let in something where the rule like, and a perfect example I would give is the changes to the KO, like the KO
Army of Renown,
which
should we just let everyone know what? Should we let everyone know what that was, like roughly?
Yeah, for sure. So so the KO Army of Renown is only Grundstock characters, Grundstock Thunderers, and Grundstock Gun Haulers, the little zippy boats, the ones that usually can't transport anything. In the book, when you moved one of those zippy gun haulers, which once per game can do like a turbo boost and go an extra 6 inches across the board, you then picked up a nearby unit of Thunderers and could teleport them to where the boat is. Like the boat picked them up before took it and dropped them off. There was no limit to how many models could be taken, but the limit was that they couldn't have more than 6 wounds, as in the individual model. So you could teleport a unit of 20 Thunderers or 30 Thunderers across the board because they only have 2 wounds a model. Now what they've done is they've specified, I think it's a maximum of 6 models, meaning a unit of 5 and a character could be teleported. And that makes a huge difference because now what it pushes was this army that was hyper shooting, hyper demolishing everything has now been tied back more into being like SEAL Team 6, which I kind of dig. I'm much more interested in the army now, seeing like lots of little tiny units of 5 dwarves and their boat zipping across trying to do everything. And that for me was actually a really great FAQ. However, none of us would have probably predicted that was going to be the move. Or no, some people would have, but like that was a very specific FAQ. I actually think it was a very good FAQ, and that drastically changed the army. Now you take that army to an event in like opposite weekends before and after that FAQ, it's vastly different. And also the gameplay against your opponent's very different. So for me, if you're running a competitive event, if there's not an FAQ, the army doesn't run. That would be if I was saying like it's a competitive event, or because the problem is as soon as the TO says I'm going to FAQ this myself, then you are changing the rules as you see them. And we didn't do that for like Soulblight. When Soulblight was gigafucked, when Null Myriad was totally like spazzed out insane, we didn't change the rules on them and say, yeah, nah, that's not it. So why would we get to do it on, say, Cities of Sigmar?
Well, okay, yeah. So, it's kind of like I agree with you. Like, I think number one, there should be a little bit of tiers. Although, since you know the dark times where we couldn't leave the house, like I think I've become more attracted to smaller events than I have bigger events. That's not to say I'm not excited about some bigger events. Obviously, I'm going to be in Boston in December. I'm going to be at the Everwinter GT. Shout out to Everwinter. Loads of love. Excited about that. It's just an amazing city, and the Wicked Nicey guys they're so wicked nicey. So I love those guys. So looking forward to that. And obviously, that's a larger event. So, but I'm traveling for that. You know, whereas we ran an event this weekend with like 14 people, and it felt like it honestly felt like a bit like a house party. It was like chill, like we were all getting food, we were just talking. Andy brought his kid in at the end, his kid and his wife, which was just a wonderful, beautiful thing. So we loved that, and that was really fun. And I think Matt won the event with the Gargant's Army of Renown. Yeah, and like we're all talking about it, we're like, what the hell is this? What does it do? You know, all those other things. But I think ultimately, and I don't think anything needs clearing up to be honest. Me and Matt had a chat. Matt's like, technically, if with a Kraken Eater, it doesn't say you can't kick this vertically. And I was like, yeah, but a TO will tell you. And he's like, yeah. Like, and so like I super agree with your point, Dan, that there's some delineation between, you know, like a kind of like more family group of mates, club style tournament, and then I guess a larger and therefore I guess we're going to put in brackets professional, which is obviously hilarious. Some of the larger events have been some of the least professional events I've been to, you know, because scale creates more problems than, you know, people realize. But regardless of the kind of that situation, you know, I guess I agree with you. There is that difference between the two where something should be a little bit more, I guess, standardized, because normally there's a bigger prize on the line, I guess.
Yeah. I think.
Sorry, I just wanted to finish it off. But the thing that we've seen time and again at events and needs to be the thing that we reinforce is that we need TOs that have got like a bit more backbone. Like that's what we need. I understand what you're saying. You're like, oh, you can't FAQ stuff, etc. But like, if there's something that comes out and is like, on a 2+, you win the game. Like a TO is just like, you can't do that. Like, it's very easy, I think, to have that conversation. Like I do that at my venue. Technically, you can pile into or you can move into a garrison or pile. Basically, you can garrison into combat.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, no, you can't. People are always like, when they come to the event, I'm like, by the way, obviously no one can garrison into combat. And people are like, oh yeah, obviously. And I'm like, because it is an obvious thing, because it's stupid. Yeah. And it's almost like that's the rules. And I'm like, it doesn't matter that they're the rules. They're stupid rules. So like that's kind of my place on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think like the hard part with making like when saying like, yeah, you've got to make decisions, is it's really easy to just let people do what they want, because often it comes from a place they're like, oh, but I really want to use the new cities book, I really want to do this, or I really want to do that. And you're like, that's super cool, and I really want you to enjoy your hobby. However, you do need to kind of like pull rank at some points and be like, but unfortunately it's a no, because we don't have any clarification on this army. And I think the thing it comes down to is if it's a friendly kind of smaller community, local, like rad thing, if somebody wins with Cities of Sigmar, people are like, yeah, cool. Jiminy Cricket won with his Cities of Sigmar list, and that's wild. That's so great. Cool to see. But if it's not that, and if it's a big competitive thing, say someone wins your event, they take out the top spot, they go first, or they're best general, best overall, whatever it is, they get the trophy, they get the tickets, they get the prizes, whatever the hell it is. And then like a month later, we get the FAQ, and you're like, well, he actually would have lost all of his games because they've changed that, or they've clarified that doesn't work this way, or whatnot. Then what you've actually kind of done is damage the results of your competitive tournament by allowing something before we had any
Dan,
clarity on the rules.
I'm so on board with everything you're saying, but I think so many events are just utter clusterfucks. Yeah. Like it's like, you know, because there's also that like everyone's like, yeah, okay, let's take this seriously. I'm like, okay. So on Saturday night, we all went out and we were hammered until 3 a.m. And you're like, okay, yeah, like 2 people in the morning couldn't make it, and 1 was sick on himself, and you're like, right, okay, like, but I agree with you. I guess it's kind of what the event is, who it is, you know, and no judgment. I think people just making stuff that's fun, because I think having all the new stuff in play, like the new City book as an example, has got nothing egregious in it, but like they might nerf some stuff. Yeah. They might be like, that needs nerfing, but that's different. That's different to what does what do. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like,
Kippers was great. Big shout out to Andy, because he just said, he was like, cool, we're not using the new cities book because there's no FAQ, and the book hasn't actually been released yet. Doesn't matter that it's out there and it's everywhere. The book hasn't been released. We're not using it. And I was like, sick. And then he was like, and we're also not using any of the Armies of Renown, because that book will have just come out and it won't have gotten any FAQs, and there won't be any understanding of that book yet. Like I think it came out the day lists were due or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, great, awesome call. There were a couple of people who were a little bit like they really wanted to do certain things with it. But I was like, great, thank you. Clarity, bulletproof, still filled the tournament. I think the coolest story for me that came out of Kippers was one of the players is a lovely bloke in my club, great player, beautiful hobby as well. He had a super rough night's sleep on that first night. And then on the first day of the tournament, he was like, you know what? I don't feel like competing. And then he just went to the TO and was like, hey, do you need a hand TOing? He was like, yes. And so Eric is his name, total legend of a guy. He ended up TOing, and he's been bit by the TO bug. He's super keen. He's like, I'm TOing again in, I think, January. He's TOing again. Like, and I was like, yes, more TOs, like more. And he's a lovely bloke. He's just, when I saw him with a couple of times where there were rules things, and he'd listen to both people and then have a look and then make a decision. I was like, yes, get this man a TOs. Let's get him like a black striped TO jersey or something like that. Cause yeah, he was an absolute ledge. And yeah, I think that was cool. More TOs, more beautiful people going to be running events.
Okay, we love that. That's good energy. Okay, so that's come up recently, the FAQ thing, because, and I guess that's going to lead into when we talk about in a bit all these armies of renown, because there's loads of there's basically like 8 new armies out that all need FAQs, and obviously lots of people are really excited. So I think that's worth that. I think that's definitely something that we should cover. I think that'd be really fun. I do have some other news. Kind of Honest Wargamer related news, if you guys are interested. So Dan, you know this as well, but like the Honest Wargamer, well, I guess it's me. So I am now the media lead for the Age of Sigmar World Championships. Thank you. But as I've always said many times, the Honest Wargamer is a collaborative process. Yeah, it's not just the chat. It's people on the Honest Wargamer Patreon. It's me. It's Nathan. It's Dan. Dan and me did. Dan was incredible at Worlds. Shout out to Scrivo. Mark. All the people at Worlds who are just great. Like Charlie, everyone. So like loads of great people. Hams fan, love you. Like loads of great people. So it's been a collaborative process. So I guess kind of like a quick question to you both, and also anyone listening to this show, is there anything you'd like to see from the Age of Sigmar World's media leads? Also, Nathan, you're now publicly responsible for a World Championships. How do you feel about that?
World Championships of what?
Age of Sigmar, you fucking... you potato fuck, right?
Why? I'm not responsible for that.
Yeah, you are. I've just because Tom. So shout out to Tom. Tom Medgens is the tournament organizer. Tom and Dayton's the commissioner. And I know Dayton is going to back me up on this. Yeah, Dayton. That's right. Dayton, who you went partying with, is the commissioner. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, no, but see, that's the perfect balance. Like, Dayton is a loose enough unit to get the party going, but then he's got enough dad energy to pull people in line. I think that's what you need. You need a combination of like dad energy while skydiving naked, and that, to me, that's Dayton.
All right, perfect.
I can just see him. Yeah.
That's a great description.
So then you've got Tom, and they said that I could develop my own media team. They were like, it's always been me. I've always done it every single year. No one else has done anything. So, like, obviously it's me. They're like, you can develop your own media team. I was like, shock. I'll just do whatever I like because no one fucking knows what I'm doing, right? So what I'm decided is that you two are in my now media team. Yeah, congratulations. Okay.
Can I have a title like propaganda and slander or something like that? Like
done. Absolutely done.
Because like those videos that I made leading into Worlds about all the countries, so many people came up to me and they were like, I thought that was really funny. And then other people were like, you called us bog snorkelers. I was like, yes, I did. But you brought Cruel Boys to Worlds. So what do you want from me? Whales.
Yeah, whales, you idiots. They were great videos, Dan. I agree with Dietary in the chat. So you're now propaganda and slander. Congratulations, Dan. Nathan,
I'll get a badge made up.
What role can you see yourself playing as one of the media leads for the Age of Sigmar? Importantly, not only the game that you play, but the game you're on the show of, right? Like, what would we be talking about? Doesn't matter. I'm not letting you get to me today. You're not doing it, right?
I think like, what about like the bog unclogger? Like Nathan, like he finds the problems and he fixes them.
Oh, that's kind of good. Yeah.
Yeah, like we're using the toilet as a metaphor. for all the things Nathan is.
What
capable
about
of.
the bollock fixer? Because
Yeah,
I feel that's helpful. Yeah,
dropped bollock aficionado?
Bollock whisperer.
Speaking of Nathan, when I was at the event, I ended up talking to a few people, Nath, who were like, they like follow you on the Twitter sphere, and regularly were like, yeah, so I see him and he posts stuff and it's like Warhammer related, or he gets tagged in Warhammer related stuff, and then I just see stuff where he's like at Shambhala or like at a thing, and I was like, yeah, he's the coolest Warhammer player. Like he's a tradie who then ends up at like psychedelic festivals and then dominating in war dollies. You're possibly the Triforce of power.
Is he?
Yeah, of course he doesn't know it. He doesn't know it. This isn't a story like where the hero knows that they're the hero, Rob. This is the kind of story where the hero kills the bad guy and has no idea that he's done it.
No, it's not. This is the hero where the guy is fucking drunk as hell and high on mushrooms in a forest. Yeah? Okay. If this was a war movie, Nathan is the thin red line. Yeah, that's where he is. You're like, what is this movie? Like, what the fuck is this? Anyway, shout out to Thin Red Line fans for some reason. Okay, so
I don't think
have you ever watched that?
What is that? No, what is it?
It's a war movie. I think the director's like mental. I can't remember, or one of the main lead actor. But Dan will know probably even better than me. But it was like shot with like there's so many famous people who were in the movie who the director at the end was like, nah, I'm just gonna cut that. I don't like them. Like whole huge scenes, and it's like it's 3.5 hours sprawling, kind of like drug inducing. Like,
and you're like, how much did you shoot?
Loads, Dan. Like, have you ever seen how much was on the cutting room floor? It's crazy. But I love that movie, but it's a very weird movie. You think it's going to be a war movie, and then you're like, what? It's like, yeah, it's very odd. Anyway, sorry.
It's kind of like Rambo, the first Rambo. You're just like, what is going on here?
Yeah. Or that what's the Tarantino movie with Selma Hayek's a vampire?
Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah. Like Dusk Till Dawn, you're like, okay, a little buddy cop adventure, and then you're like, what? Why are there vampires?
What is going on here? Yeah, I swerved so hard.
That was great.
It was great. It was good. All right, so
didn't know where you're going.
Nathan,
for a great ride.
Nathan, what role can you see yourself playing in the media team?
Why do you ask me that question? I don't fucking know.
That's why I ask it.
Because you like silence on the radio.
Especially with your hands like that, Rob. You look like a .com millionaire CEO. Like, that's why I ask.
Looks like a monk praying for something. It's like, where is God? God's not there, Rob.
Okay, we're gonna put you in. We're gonna put you in as the head of PR, public relations. Okay. No. Oh, actually, I know what we're gonna do. We're going to put you, if that's okay with you, in a kind of customer service role. We're going to set up an email. I'm going to put it on your phone so people can email questions that they might have, and then
What a bastard.
and then you will be responsible for replying.
So good.
I'll reply.
Yeah,
No worries.
So good.
Yeah.
They were like blah 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 blah, and you'll be like, what
And
game
I'll
are you
reply,
talking about?
Blah, blah, blah. blah, blah, blah. Literally blah, blah, blah.
But no, just respond to all of them with pictures. You know, like if they like ask you a question, you just respond with like a photo, and they're like, "What does that mean?" You're like, "If you don't know, you don't deserve the answer." Like,
Correct.
Just leave it.
Yeah, perfect. Either that, or I'd like, because Dan, a couple of things you're excited, you might be excited about. I have two things I've already set up. Well, I'm in negotiations with getting a theme tune made for Age of Sigmar Worlds. Yeah, via like a rap video.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
Okay. So, like most esports big events have, I talked about this on stream the other day, but most esports events have this big kind of. They normally have like a live performance. I think like League of Legends recently had Lil Nas. So I'm hoping if we spend enough money, we might be able to get bread. That's what I'm aiming for. Okay, that's what I'm aiming for. That'd be pretty good, right? So
and if there's not a line where there's something like "bread says you're toast," I'll be really disappointed.
So I've asked Bread.
Really disappointed.
Bread has said, I'm not sure, A, he wants to do it, B, he can do it, and then C, he can be bothered to do it. So I really respect that level of like effort. So I'm going to hound him religiously now every day.
Yeah, bother him on social media. That's the way to get a result out of that.
Yeah.
Get the
Perfect.
chat involved. They can all email.
Oh,
them
chat. If you, so I'll put for people, podcast people, and also YouTube thugs. I'll include. I guess what I'll do is I'll just dox Bread. I'll include his Twitter account. So
his home address.
The only other one I would suggest, Rob, is see if you can get like epic rap battles of history. I just remember watching them on YouTube a million years ago and just have them do like a Warhammer versus Warhammer vibe.
Okay, that sounds fun. I mean, listen, these are all we'll start brainstorming later, and then so that's one thing I have organised, and the other thing is I'm in negotiations with a sculptor because I thought every year we could have a miniature basically to represent like so we would have a mascot and also a miniature, and we're aiming for a wizard that does spells like a blizzard wizard, but in clogs and looks fairly like Amsterdam where the Dutch live. Fuck yeah, that.
Rob,
Yeah.
I have two questions. First, miniature clogs, great. Probably needs a red light over its head just to be really authentic.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
The other thing, did you say mascot?
Yeah, a mascot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
See,
have a
yeah.
new role for Nathan.
Yes. Well, yes. That's such a great idea.
Now, but wait, go with me on this one. Go with me, Nathan. I think you're gonna love this. Probably. Depends on where you sit on the furry spectrum, but full mascot suit.
Yeah.
Just like at a major sporting event, and then Nathan has carte blanche to do whatever he wants for the whole event. You know, like you see all those videos of like mascots going and fucking with members of the audience. Like Nathan just rocks up in this massive mascot outfit and then just dumps a bucket of dice onto someone's table mid-game.
Dan, this is what's even better is if the mascot is literally just like a headband with a set of bunny ears. Like no more effort than that. Just normal clothes. Yeah. Just like that's the whole outfit. Zero effort. Just a pair of bunny ears. Like the official mascot of Worlds is the Zimbabwean bunny. Yeah. And no one's gonna be like, what? You don't want the African bunny to represent Worlds, you racist. Yeah, like we've got so much defense there. Oh, that's really good. Okay. Nathan, what would you prefer? Customer service? Mascot?
I'm quite into wearing rabbit ears, so yeah, I'll go with the rabbit ears.
There we go. Yep. I thought Nathan would be about the costume. There it is.
Well done, Dan. Dan, that's a genius. That's why you're at the head of banter and blogging.
What was it? Something and slander.
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, gander and slander. All right, perfect.
Pander and slander. I was put Nathan in a panda outfit. Job done.
All right, so head of Worlds. To be serious for a moment, I do have one plan, which I'm trying to. I hopefully will get it towards the end of the week, but I'm not sure. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a Discord server for Worlds. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so that each one of those Discord servers is like invite only, and then there's going to be a main chat server, and then each one of those subgroups, if that makes sense. So like on the Discord, and then the idea is I'm going to reach out to the captain of Team Canada as an example, and I've spoken to Tom and Dayton about this, and they've said I'm cool to get ahead, and then I'll be like, hey, so here's a space where you as the head of the team are going to be able to communicate with you and the team. So we'll get all the right flares up. We'll be like, Team Canada. And you'll only, if you're in an official team or in the squad, you'll get that official flare. No one else will be allowed to have it, sort of thing. Yeah. And then this is a space where you can put all of the people who are excited about Team Canada and want to support Team Canada in it. And then, I'm going to be public about it and try and get those people in there as well. And then what I'll do is, I'll also set up a couple of sub bits in there, like a place where they can say, oh, there's all these national events on and that other stuff. So basically a space where the team can communicate with its like nation, if that makes sense, but also where the nation can communicate with the team. Because I think that's actually quite desperately lacking. And then have a public space where all of the fans and the teams can interact with each other. Then hopefully, as we build up towards Worlds, there'll be a little bit more. That banter will build up a little bit, and I think it'll be like a nice, fun space. Because the problem is, many of us are spread across loads of different social media platforms, like TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. So I thought try and get a big community together. Because I think two things I have two goals that I'd love to achieve by coming around to Worlds. I'd like the teams to have more. I don't want to say accountability, but I'd like to say more. Kind of like, because they're representing a nation, right? So I feel like in that situation, like it's very easy to be like, well, it's us 8 and like no one else is getting involved, so like whatever. It's like, okay, but you're wearing the flag of a country, so
you represent a country, and it's what people get excited for. Yeah,
so you have some responsibility to the players in your country. I do think that, but similarly, I'd love it if we could. I'm going to try and sort out a process so that let's say I was a fan of like Team Scotland, I could start buying Team Scotland merch, and I'd be like, that's cool. And then that money that they make from that merch could go towards paying for flights or food or
that's awesome.
Those other things. I think that's basically how clubs survive, right? Football clubs and things, and it feels like that's the right way to go. Because I don't know, Nath, is there any country, if there was a Team Zimbabwe, would you buy a Zimbabwe shirt? Team Sweden. I know you love the Swedish. Whose national team would you buy a shirt of?
Yeah, probably Sweden. And maybe the place where it's being held. Where is it being held? Netherlands.
Netherlands. Yeah.
Where the Dutch live.
Where the Dutch live. Yeah, buying one for the Netherlands would be cool because that's where it's being held. Especially if it was like a celebration one. Because then it doesn't have to be. It could be like. Doesn't have to be their kit. It could be like, we've made this specifically for. Because I think that'd be fun. Dan,
I want a Team Ref shirt. I want a team. I've got my Aussie shirt. I'd buy a Canadian shirt. I'd buy an Aussie shirt. But I want a Team Ref shirt. Only because it was rad. And honestly, the truth is that the teams that I would want the most are, I saw a lot of the Nordic teams in the gym every morning just ripping weights. And these were the same blokes who every photo they've got a beer in their hand and are just demolishing a beer. And yet I'd go to the gym and I'd be sweating a little bit, getting the beer out of me, and I'd like jump on a treadmill or I'd start doing a little bit of weights. And there they were with just like quadruple the weights. But as a team working out, I want those jerseys. What I want is Nordic Viking workout wear, and that's what I'm going for.
All right, okay, that's good. Like, 'cause I feel that's the one thing I would like to do. I think, and the one thing that we probably should try to do is make it so that the people of a country feel more connected with the people who represent them, and the people who represent them should feel more supported by their country. That feels like the right thing to try to engender, right? In my opinion. So that's a goal. If that's okay with you two as other media leads.
As propaganda and slander, I'm all for it. As long as it's either propaganda and it's building someone up, or it's slandering them and breaking them down, you've got a clearance from me. Yep.
10 out of 10.
I'm either putting it together or I'm tearing it down.
Sounds good. It's a yes from the bunny ears.
No, I'm afraid while you are indeed actually the bunny ears mascot, you've been given a new name, which is Internationals Relations Manager. So that's your job.
Structural Integrity Supervisor.
I can't wait to make these graphics when I get home tonight. I'm like so excited. Right, okay.
Can Nathan just actually have all of these titles? So it's like where everybody else has a title in one name. Nathan has his name and then just a full half dozen. I'm
gonna make it like Daenerys. Yeah, like
yeah. First of his name, the bunny-eared god.
I might just set him up calls with different esports organizations. Anyway, all right, okay, so that's some news that's out. So we're
The
the
vapors.
yeah. We should probably start talking about Armies of Renown. Is what we should do. So let's start there, which I think is fun. So Armies of Renown. What are they? Who are they? Why are they? Is a great couple of questions.
When are they?
When are they?
Where are they? How are they?
I gotta say that my favorite thing about the Armies of Renown, before we get into it and explain what they are, Nath, is that Games Workshop put a article up today, being like, "What are Armies of Renown?" As of this point, they've sold a book and also put another book on pre-order containing a total of 8 Armies of Renown, and then it's only today they're like, "By the way, what are these?" Yeah, you're like, well, could you have told us before what the plan was?
I have a feeling that, you know, when you just do something and then you realize it's confused so many people, and you're like, did we not check that it was confusing? You know, like it's just like, which I have that all the time on film sets, where 90% of the time people know what's going on because it's the same structure every day. Same with Warhammer. A lot of the time, book comes out, army comes out, models get released, FAQ comes out, play with book. Very straightforward. Then every now and then it's like Cities of Sigma, where it's like leak, book comes out, but not out, but then release, but then pre-order, but then 2-week window, and then FAQ, you've got to turn around 3 times and sacrifice a goat, then use a Ouija board to find out, do I get to score the battle tactic if I suppress the unit with the unit that kills it? Like it's like all of that kind of shit. But previously it was very logical, where this one it's like, so we're releasing a book. Now the first book is going to have characters, I think,
Shall I take us through what they are so far?
What the Dawnbringers.
Okay.
Because the first Dawnbringers book wasn't Armies of Renown, it was Regiments of Renown, right?
So there are currently 2 books that are out, and then there is a 3rd book on pre-order at the time of recording. Exactly. There are unspecified amount of books, but we think, based on doing some tricky guesswork, that it's roughly about 5. So 2 more to go. The first book had 4 Regiments of Renown in, with 4 unique characters, which you would use in Regiments of Renown. Regiments of Renown are used like allies that you put into an army. Then you have to take those specific units, and they get a buff. So they're very much like old War Scroll battalions. Okay, perfect. And then with no announcement at all, literally 0.
And that also, sorry to be clear, that made sense because Regiments of Renown already existed.
Yes.
We had the rules, we had the structure, we knew what they were. So that was like, it makes sense. It's just more of what you already had. Like, we got it.
Exactly. And then even then when they introduced Regiments of Renown, they were very much like the mercenaries that they set up previously, like in Age of Sigmar 2. So we were like, okay, we're vibing. What's cracking off? And then they were like, book 2, 4 Armies of Renown with characters. And everyone was like, stop. What? And listen, like it was a whole situation. So there was an Iron Jaws set of rules that were released as a PDF, very weird. And then we had these. Then we kind of went into it like, oh yeah, we get to find out all the rules. They're like, but they're in Armies of Renown. So an Army of Renown is a army that uses none of the allegiance abilities of its main army. It also uses none of the enhancements of its main army at all. And instead, it's very restricted to units it describes that it can have, and then that's it. And then it has its own command trait, artifacts, battle tactics, in some cases, a prayer law. But basically, anything from the book just doesn't apply.
Yeah.
And then sometimes faction terrain will apply, sometimes it won't. And then in the worst kind of combo as well, is they then also made it so that there's quite a few kind of unique units which also can then all now take command traits, which is they already did in the Vrykros book in the Soulblight Gravelords book with the Vrykros dynasty. So they already did that in the Soulblight Gravelords book, and now we're in this situation where you can give unique units command traits again, which is honestly a mindfuck. So also, can you take spell enhancements? Can you take prayer enhancements? There's a load of things right? That's
Yeah.
kind of like up in the air. But basically, so Nathan, explaining it and not experiencing it before, have you got any questions?
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know what to ask really. But
Okay.
yeah, it sounds confusing as fuck.
It's really not though. It's not. It's basically
They're like their own army,
yes.
but sometimes they will use bits of that. Like, does the truck, like the troll one,
Yep.
does use the moon, doesn't it? So
It uses the moon, but
bits,
it's written into its own thing.
its own.
Yeah.
So it's
But
all
it's still the
written
moon.
in its under its own thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So they're little self-contained battle tomes, really.
Yeah.
So my first exactly that's exactly what they are. And as of recording, so that was the first book, 4 New Armies of Renown. Everyone's like, what is happening? And then a new book, 4 more Armies of Renown, with probably 2 more books, taking us to a grand total of 16 Armies of Renown. So I guess there's a way of thinking of it as 16 new armies or 16 ways to play. Obviously, not counting the big pig one, so 17 technically, just because it's terrible, Nath, sadly. But like, they're potentially 18. And if there's another book, if there ends up being 6 books, it'll be 20, which is an amazing amount of new
And don't forget,
stuff.
4 regiments of renown.
Oh yeah, in addition from the first.
And
bit,
also
yeah.
those, because everyone's obviously really excited about them and is definitely using them.
What if they go back to doing those in the new books?
Well, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Fast and loose, baby. Fast and loose.
What happens when they start doing battalions of renown?
I
Then
hadn't
what are we gonna do?
I hadn't even considered that it would change
Or-
again. Oh.
What about there could be a patrol of renown?
Heroes of renown.
Yeah.
Oh.
Battle plans of renown.
Okay. Please, wait, also, shut up. What if they hear you? Like,
Hey, you're still all right in that book. We've got some ideas.
Yeah, just quickly copy and paste. What is it? Heroes of renown. What do they do? It's the same hero, but they've less consonants, more nouns. We renown them.
what I love is I know that
Nice.
loads of people at GW watch this show. So shout out to all of you. You're great people. You deserve more money. Get paid more money. Your CEO's a wanker. But like, I love that they're like, oh, maybe a quick, cheeky hero of renown. Good work, Nathan,
Yeah.
head of media relations for Age of Sigmar Worlds.
And also the bunny-eared latex god.
Oh, Iggy Bonker's in the chat with the renowns of renown, which I'm excited about. Yeah, let's go.
Right, yeah. That's where you take an army of renown, or you take a regiment of renown in an army of renown, led by a hero of renown on a battle plan of renown.
Yeah, yes. Jesus, that's a lot of renown. Well, so that's the situation we're at. So they their own way of playing their own army book, and sometimes they have released new models for it. In the KO one, absolutely for no reason, they made KO way better, or a side grade, but made them still good with no new minis. And then for the Iron Jaws one, they released loads of new pigs. And they were like, let's do this. And it was terrible. So much so that they've had to do an FAQ to be like, you could just use it in Iron Jaws, though. And everyone's like, yes, we will
Yes,
do
we
that.
can.
Yeah,
Yes, that is how we will be doing that, yes.
Yeah, so I guess my first question to the chat, and to one of my favourite people, Milladin from France. What's up?
Also, one of the people that inspired me to start playing Beasts of Chaos as well.
Also inspired me to play Beast of Chaos as well.
Yeah.
There's only I think at Worlds, who really impressed me, him and Vlad were very good. Vlad the Impaler. All right, anyway, so what we're saying, for people in the YouTube comments, people in the podcast, you can't ask any questions, sorry, silent masses. I guess at this point it's time for you to tell me how you feel about the existence of Armies of Renown. Dan, I'm going to kick off with you. Nathan, I'm going to ask you after. How do you feel about their creation and existence as a format?
I kind of love them as a concept. Like, I kind of really dig the thing I liked about where army sub-factions used to be is that when the books did them well, they drastically changed how you built and played an army. At the moment, the sub-factions are more like little skews one way or another. Soulblights maybe is the most recent book with them that would drastically change the layout. Maybe OBR as well. But you look at, like, say, cities, your sub-faction is actually just one army ability, and it's singular, whereas previously we saw big swings towards types of units or gameplay styles. I really like that the Armies of Renown encourage that. Do I think that they've nailed it in execution? No. But I would say that to use the KO one as an example, and we already spoke about the FAQ, the changes to the rules for the KO one. I think it went from being like this god awful, overwhelming shooty 30 model double shooty kind of garbage to now this multiple small unit SEAL Team 6 kind of thing, and I'm super okay with that. I really that I find quite interesting. But then there are ones like Trug which are pretty flat, and like no one read the Trug's Warherd War Scroll, I would assume, and was like, I want to take that to an event.
Oh, Dan, not true. Super popular. Super popular.
You're kidding. Trug is going.
Oh, Trug
not because of the rules though, but because
of Trig.
Yeah. Of course of Trig and Trug.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it would have been cool to see those be a little bit better.
Well, I know. Sorry,
yeah,
Dan. Sorry, like I made a bit of a joke there. I actually think when it comes out in the wash, that maybe running Glog's Mega Mob because it gives you more options is good. But I would think you might see some Trug's Mega Mobs go 4-1-5-0 over the next 6 months.
Really?
I think so. I think
right, I'll be happy to see that.
It's a lot of it's basically if you roll a 6 at the beginning of the game, you have a Nurgle army that can like absolutely punch your head in.
Very true.
Like, and that's quite difficult to deal with. You got a lot of healing. Like, there's some legit
and
stuff.
all you need to do is roll 1-6, which means you got to get out your toilet dice.
Yeah,
and you
perfect.
just nail that 6 every time. But yeah, I like them. I think in the question of should they be allowed in tournaments, which I've seen floating around, I think they should. They're a matched play army if they've got an FAQ, which they have, so clearly they are getting updates and balances. Then we don't get to pick and choose what is and isn't a matched play army. Because I know a lot of people, when Soulblight were flooding the board, would have loved to be able to say that's not a match play army. Or when there were 27 Skyfires shooting you off the board turn 1, you would love to say that's not a matched play army. We don't get to choose what is and isn't. We just get to roll with the punches and hope that it gets balanced through being played. So if you see, like, for instance, Soulblight dominating the meta, they got an FAQ. You see, or they got point balances. If we see KO shooting the hell out of everyone, let them have their time in the sun, and then we'll see a balance. And that's where I come down with them. There aren't really any that make me desperately want to play an Army of Renown or pick up those armies. But there's, like you said, there's potentially another 8 to 12 more coming out. So you never know. Beats of Chaos Army of Renown when.
Well, when your army gets squatted in 4th, no, never. But like,
don't you dare! You can't squat beasts. Do you know how hard we have to punch up to get into the 4-1 bracket?
Dan, I've been saying this for like a year. They're definitely getting squatted. Old world, they're going out of the wilderness and then they're just coming out square bases. Like, I can see the goat-based video games Workshop makes now, right?
Goat-based.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Round bases just don't work for them because they're hooved.
Exactly. Yeah. It's gonna be really weird. Right. Okay, Nathan, what's your take on how do you feel about Armies of Renown?
Obviously, I've not been involved so much recently, so it's probably less of a thing for me. Not that excited by it. Although it does, I guess it then, if they didn't have the Armies of Renown, what are they going to fill those books with? Because doesn't that a big chunk of the rules, like the actual text in those books?
Yeah, a significant portion. There is an ongoing like meta narrative. But I am going to do a review show on those, but I'm going to get to those. I'm doing a Cities of Sigmar review show at the minute, so we're going to do that after. But yeah, there is a meta narrative. But sure, what the interesting thing is, I guess, is that they're also connected to these big miniature releases. Like, you know, in some cases, which I think is really interesting. Obviously, in the Iron Jaws case, they've literally FAQ'd them. So they did that last week. They've FAQ'd them so you can use them more easily inside an Iron Jaws army. Because at release, they were just disconnected, and you could take them, but you couldn't take command traits or artifacts. And the scene is like two of them were heroes. Like, it felt really weird with the big pig. But this new one that's coming up, there's a brand new Stormcast Dragon. Well, there's technically a dragon who's been groomed by a Stormcast guy, but we're not getting to that today. And then
Also, like, who waited until he was like collected because he was kind of dying or he was really decrepit, and then he took it. So I have a feeling that it was actually
a child dragon.
No, you know what I think it is, Rob? It was one of those TikTok, Instagram celebrity wankers who finds a really fucked up pet and is then like, oh, look at me saving him. Oh, this is how he looks now. Oh my gosh, I saved him from the streets. That's what a Stormcast did to a dragon.
Yeah.
He was like, whereas the dragon was probably like, I live in Shaiish. It's a fucked up place. I eat skeletons. Yeah, but I'm living my best life. He's like, no, you're not. Come here. Let me give you a warm bed.
Well,
all I see is that stupid Lord Relictor is just a thirsty TikTok person desperate for views.
Well, I see him as a priest who's groomed a young dragon, so I'm not actually sure which one's worse. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So you got the dragon, who is obviously like, not only is he part of like a dragon wing, but he's a legitimately good choice rules wise inside a Cities of Sigmar army, a Stormcast army, like his good ally. Then for Sylvaneth, you've got Big Bug. And Big Bug's also excellent inside the Sylvaneth army, probably inside their Army of Renown, and then also independent. So they're also tied into these big miniature releases as well, which is cool. So we are getting these kind of like these big releases. But sorry, Nathan, I just wanted to let you know that there's all these minis coming out as well at the same time.
Okay.
What do you think about that? Because I think that's quite fun.
Yeah, I mean, it would be good if the rules like, I'm less interested in the Armies of Renown stuff. I think it's just too much. We've got enough armies. Just make the armies work together more nicely.
Well, like an ally system or something that was a little bit better.
Well, just let them write them into the book and make them integrated into the book.
Okay.
And that's what, that would be the job of the Dawnbringer book, would be writing them into the books, that like the Ironjaw's contingent, writing them into the Ironjaw's army, but integrated so that they can play together.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting. Well, so let's talk over a couple of bits, because I think there's some bits that are really interesting. Number one, if you'd have asked, I'll throw my pitch out there, and hopefully we can move on. Like, and again, interesting what the chat think. If you'd have asked me a month ago, I'd have been like, why? Why do they exist? Like, what are you doing here? And also, there's just a kind of quick kind of like throw it out there. I think when we see the old world come out, I think you'll be able to build armies very much like you can in Age of Sigmar now, where you build your army, you get your main rules, and they'll have something akin to an Army of Renown as well with their book. So number one, I think the reason we have them is because main studio want to try and one up Specialist Design Studio, which is very funny. But like that's a kind of side note. I think the thing for me, that if you'd asked me 4 weeks ago, I'd have been like, no. Why are you overcomplicating this entire endeavor? Like, why now do I have to play Sylvaneth and then I have to remember what the Sylvaneth like Army of Renown does? You know, like, why do I have to remember what dragons do in Stormcast and then what dragons do in another way? And I'd be like, it's just stupid and I don't need it. And also, you know, you're not doing the job of like fixing rules that you made mistakes with. You know, you're not giving gluttons a 4-up armor save. You're not, you're not fixing units that are bad in other armies, and instead you're just, trying to flog a new thing. If you'd have asked me 4 weeks ago, now I'm super pro them. Like, I am like one of their biggest fans. I think there's two things to say. Number one, there's a definite future where one of them is too good, and that's a real problem. Because balancing it is fairly hard, because you have to change the rules versus change the points. If you change the points for a unit, like if you change Thunderer's points because they could have gone in the Army of Renown, that would
then you're messing them up in everything else.
Yeah. And that's a bad way. And so if you make one that's too strong, then you end up in a bad place. But I think there's so like that's always a fear though, right? That's true with the battle tome as well. But two things I think have happened, which I think are great. Number one, it's breathed new life into loads of armies. Like, if you were a Sylvaneth fan, you got your book last year, you've got nothing really to be hype about. The most exciting thing that you kind of get in the cycle is you get the Battle Scroll update where you're like, oh, they've made I don't know, for some reason they made Spite Revenants 30 points per 10 or something, or per 5. You're like, oh shit, I get a lot of Spite Revenants. Yeah, you're excited, and you're like, that's cool. Or like they make Alariel 300 points. You're like, oh, finally, I'm going to get Alariel. Like, whatever. That's the only way that you got these things. Whereas the new Sylvaneth Army of Renown gives you a legitimately a cool new character. So that's cool if that's because lots of people are just one army people. That's so they're like, I've got my Sylvaneth guys and I'm hype. And then they're like, right, bring this out and you can play Sylvaneth. But also for for competitive gamers like us, or like gamers who want to play something different. Previously, Sylvaneth didn't really appeal to me because of their castle strike and fade mechanic. Like it felt like it was good, but it was also a little bit twisted. I think that's why I like Simon's Tree Lord list so much, because it felt like it really kind of attacked that paradigm of how the army wants to play. And then with this, you can now legitimately just have an entire Sylvaneth army that's just going to yeet at you like an Iron Jaws army. Yeah. Just everything's going to, So just so you know, Nathan, the big bug gives you run and charge while Sylvaneth's in range, which is cool. And then, what was it? There's something, and retreat and charge on one unit. Okay, and then Warsing, there's a command trait in the army for like +3 to move, so that's really good.
You can also on a 3-up turn trees into overgrown, like random pieces of terrain into overgrown terrain near the big bug, so you can teleport through it using your army teleport.
Yeah, exactly. But my main point though is you've basically taken what was previously like a castle army that did like these little sniper attacks, and you've turned it into an full frontal yeet into your face Iron Jaws army, and that's actually because if you love the aesthetic of Sylvaneth. Khorne is my perfect example for this. Right now, you love Khorne, and you're like, I love killing stuff. And I'm like, well, did you know you're actually a control deck army? And that's your main strength. And they're like, and Khorne players around the world, obviously unable to read, are like furious. Yeah.
They can, but it takes 3 blood tithe points to read, and unfortunately they keep spending them on ones to move D6 in the movement phase. Yeah, I think that's the big thing though. Like I actually quite like the Sylvaneth one, super cool in what it changes. Honestly the KO one now with those balances, I really like as well. Not giving KO access to the big ships and a ton of their other stuff, and being like you need to make do with limited resources now that they can't take huge units and teleport big units of 30. I'm all for it because this encourages like almost one boat to one unit kind of a thing, which is like feels like very Vietnam, like choppers with troops dropping off and everything like that. I dig that, but then I think that there are some that just they don't actually add any, they don't make it exciting to play, and that's a shame. Like it's a missed opportunity to change it up, but I wouldn't get rid of them. Like I'd keep them because of that, because it gives you a new way to do it. They nailed it with Big Bug. Big Bug was perfect.
Yeah, Big Bug was good.
Big Bug was the example they should set for the others, in that it goes in a regular Sylvaneth army, it's a new wonderful piece, and in its own army, it gives a totally different way to play. The question is, like, technically because of its keywords, Alariel can summon Big Bug, right?
Yeah, so yes, and also let's have a conversation. It could even be a unit of three Big Bugs, although it's got the single. It's a whole conversation. Yeah. But rules as written, absolutely. Should a TO ever allow it? No,
never. But
yeah.
Hilarious, like because of course Sylvaneth players, those bastard Sylvaneth players, always looking for some janky rules edge, because that's all Sylvaneth players are. They're the most, but they're biggest dickheads. They were like, I get to summon a tree. No, let him have it. Honestly, to me, I'm like, let him summon the big tree. Sylvaneth hasn't been hitting the top spots recently. Let him have it for a week before it goes away.
So there's a bunch of different ways. So like negatives in the future potentially, but and there's also one other kind of resounding negative we should talk about. But positives, at least from like a game design perspective, actually pretty cool for existing players, in my personal opinion. Like Nathan with Trugs, like, you know, like I know that when you play Gits, you like running all the different kind of units, you know, as a mix. Yeah. But like, you know, with Trug does something fairly unique. You know, you can have it so you can't in Gits have it so that you turn off all shooting, so that you can only shoot you on 6s, right?
Yeah.
But you could be like, I'm going to get loads of trolls, and if I play KO, I'm going to have the most hilarious fucking time in the world. Like,
Because I'm going to be dodging and diving like.
and that's legitimately like an exciting prospect, right? Or are you kind of excited about that, maybe, or having loads of fell waters with a 5-up ward?
Yeah, I mean that's quite fun, and I can see it would be quite difficult to write that Army of Renowned ability into the Gits, like if you're just trying to integrate that into the Gits book. But yeah, so obviously there's some fun things that can be done like that, and not disappointed that those are there. But it does seem like a lot of stuff. But
well, so I mean,
that's not a bad reason for.
Oh, I don't know. That's also a legit. That's a legit. I think there's two things. Number one, it's overwhelming because, like, you know, this weekend, if you're a Stormcast player, you've got a new miniature to play. That's cool. Fire Slayers, you've got a new way to play. It's not good, but it's a new way to play. You know, Sylvaneth, you've got a new way to play, so you're hype about that as well. I can't forget what the fourth one is. There's a fourth one. I forget. Ogres, the Maw Pit, of course. You got the Ogre Army of Renown as well. So you got this new way to play, you know, in of itself. So you're in this, like, but then you might also be like, that's actually too much, Rob. That's a lot. Now I'm going to an event next weekend. I don't know if I'm going to play Brod's Mega Stomp. I don't know what that does. Like, and now I'm worried about this KO army. I wasn't really expecting that to happen. You know, all this other stuff. So I think it really depends on how you feel about releases and support. I think, if we're being honest, I think the fact that loads of armies get a little bit of an update before, you know, an edition refresh is actually kind of nice. I think, honestly, it's kind of nice. If we got like a Nurgle one, you know, a good Nurgle update, I think that would be really cool because it was quite old. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing a Cruel Boys specific one, not Big War. I think that would be cool as well. I'd love to see a Zinch one. I'd love to see a Zinch one.
Oh, give me Combat Zinch.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
Give me Combat Birds. Remember, there used to be like a weird combat. I don't know if it still exists because I anytime I look at a Zinch book, it's like my eyes cross and I start speaking in tongues. But there used to be one where like you could give a bird the sword and then he could cast spells on himself to buff him up to be like a combat bird. And you were like, what is it? It's a bird thirster. Get in there. And like, I'd love to see the return of Combat Zinch.
Yeah, Bird Thirster would be great. Yeah. Now I want that down. Army of Renown, Bird Thirsters.
Bird Thirsters.
Yeah,
I want combat birds leading combat that little doody doods in.
Yeah.
Sangles.
Yeah. Several one making Thunder Lizards would be good. Thunder Lizards are very good. Like, they're very good. But anyway, let's like kind of like swing this around. So those are the major positives. So I guess it really depends on how you, the listener, feel about whether or not it's too much content or not enough content. There is another big negative as well, and another big positive, I think. The other big negative is that Age of Sigmar 4 is next summer. It's July. It's like clockwork. It's like that's already when it's going to be. It'll probably be like, I don't know, July 14th. That's just a guess, and it'll be somewhere 2 weeks either side of that because that's the middle of the month, right? So that's when the new Age of Sigmar's out. So, you know, you might go into this being like, I'm going to buy all the Carriage and Overlords as an example, and they might not work as an army in 9 months. And that's actually a big negative, I think. Yeah. Because I think, I'm not a huge fan of that. And I think there's a lot of people who might get really excited not really knowing that that's the case. Because obviously they don't announce that. So I think that's a negative. What do you two think? Or, you know, is 9 months long enough? You know, how do you buy an army? Nathan, obviously you bought one Gits army and it's your Gits army for life, yo.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think some of them, obviously, you can still play in the normal book. So you could play Trug's Trogherd as Glog's Trogherd, or whatever it is, the Trogherd in the Gits book. So hopefully it's not cool for the people that are buying the stuff if they then have to ditch half their models so that they can play it back in the book. But hopefully they keep that down to a bare minimum then.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I think that's a toughie, if I'm honest. I think that's a toughie for some people. Dan, what do you think?
It's that's the big tear, right? And it was the same it was kind of cool. Like I remember end times for Warhammer Fantasy, when suddenly we could do all these cool things and take all these cool armies, and it really felt like it was breathing this fresh life into the way you built armies and played games. And then it ended, and that was really tricky. So I love the freshness. It's just like Mentos; they're fresh making all over the place. But I'm a little, the idea that like your book army, what you put together, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be you'll almost certainly be able to port it across to the new edition.
Yeah.
These, if you're going in for an army of renown, you're going in for a very specific skew, like a very unique thing, and there's a pretty good chance it doesn't hold up on the other side.
Yeah.
Which means and I don't know if I love that. Like yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it could feel a lot like a cash grab if it isn't handled elegantly going into 4th edition. Also, kind of like a point to make, someone is going to, in the YouTube comments, be like, Rob, they're just play testing for 4th edition. This is exactly the conversation we had when all the fucked up stuff happened at the end of 2nd edition going into 3rd edition. And it turns out none of that was true. Yeah.
It was literally somebody who was like, what should we do? We need to make some more rules. All right, I've done a line. Let's go. And you're like, what are you doing? Making an army.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. Right. So so that's not true because of time. 4th edition is written. The time we're at now, 9 months before the launch, it's already completely written. It's off in China, getting printed, and then being sent over here in the UK. So it's already being printed. It's already on the way, if that makes sense. So that's done. So none of what we're seeing is going to in any way. They're not going to you aren't going to tomorrow buy a Sylvaneth army, build it, paint it, which will take you till at least the new year, maybe longer, and then play it in 2 games, and they're going to be like, good feedback. We'll change the whole of 4th edition based
everything.
Based on
this. Yeah. What are we going to do? Okay, go. Remember the last time we needed to do this? The Suez? Yeah, the Suez. We're going to need to jam that book and toss them all over the side.
Get it in.
Reprint the lot. Yeah.
I'm obsessed with that still. I love that boat ruined the whole Earth. One boat. Yeah. That's good.
Did we realize that maybe putting that much pressure on one shipping lane was a bad idea? No.
Also, my assumption is that all the people that captain those boats are paid literally pennies. I don't imagine it's a well-paid job, so that makes me laugh. Right, anyway, not that they don't get paid well. I would love them to get paid well. Burn down the billionaires and give them to the ship captains or whatever. Yeah, the boat boys. So 4th edition's around the corner, but I got one more thing to say, and it is so incongruent with what we've just said that I can't handle it. Like I said, 4 weeks ago, if you asked me about this, I'd be like, oh, fuck, this sucks. And I've changed, changing the way armies play is really exciting. Loads of new miniatures for loads of different releases is cool. But most importantly, I think the Armies of Renown, based on YouTube comments, personal experiences, obviously we went to Castle recently, and Louise played. She played with the Trugs Mega Mob. All of these different experiences have been really interesting, and watching people react to them, being like, cool, I want to get into Age of Sigmar. I'm going to just buy and build that army. They don't have to ask a million questions. It's a single page most of the time. It's the command traits, the artifacts, the battle tactics, 1 page, and then you can only buy these 3 or 4 models. And it's so good for getting new players in. Therefore, it's so disastrous that they've done it at the end of an edition that it's both brilliant and stupid. If they did that at the start of the edition, if 4th edition is indexes, which we should talk about in another week, if it's indexes and then there's 2 Armies of Renown in addition, that gives you 3 ways to play. The core way, a couple of Armies of Renown, and that's great. And that's a great way to onboard new people. But right now, you might onboard new people and their army will be ruined by 4th edition. And all I can think is that they know that's true and they're just stealing people's money. I can't get that out of my head, Dan. I can't.
I wonder if these books were meant to look, because remember the start of this edition was the Dawnbringer edition. You know,
Yeah.
like it was all about that. Like, I mean, I've got the coins that came with the cool little coin malleus that came with your Dominion box. So I wonder if these books were meant to drop at like closer to launch of this edition to be like, this is the story of the edition, and maybe there was a development delay or something like that, and they've gotten kind of like crammed in towards the very end of it.
Well, a good point also to point out is that, like, is that there's so many monster releases. Like the new Cruel Boys kit is like anti-monsters, Fire Slayer's anti-monsters, and it's the end of 3 years of monsters. It's like it's kind of, it feels like they start the edition, they're like, we're doing monsters, guys, and then miniatures guys are like, are we? That's cool. And then 3 years later, you get some miniature stuff, like you get some monster stuff. You're like, next season, bows. And they're going to be like, oh my God, we've got so many more monster things coming out. You didn't tell us.
Please relent.
I don't really know why all the monster stuff's at the end. It's very weird. So, Nathan, what do you think about the onboarding of like new players and 4th edition? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And I agree, actually, thinking about it, that the Armies of Renown thing is a cool way for a new player to pick up. And you're right, yeah. I mean, at the beginning of an edition, that would be a perfect time to set that mechanic up. And it's a bit worrying to see what will happen. But hopefully the new people will get into it enough, and then they'll have the bones of an army, and then they can expand it into the core books.
Yeah, well, I think
it happens.
I think one of the things that's quite interesting though is like, you know, you bite someone in, don't you? You're like, oh, the game is good. Here you go. Like, and I'm attributing to malice what I can attribute to stupidity. So I probably should just be like, they're just not thinking it through. But I think, I guess the real question and the final question is when 4th edition does roll around, because we're going to get 8 more or 4 to 8 more kind of Armies of Renown that are going to be released, unless they start doing Heroes of Renown, in which case I'm quitting. I'm out and out quitting for like a week. Yeah.
I won't. Nah, I'll be lifting them weights. I'll be like, give me more. Feed me more.
So my question,
because the more of them they feed me, the more chance there's one I love.
Yeah. So the question is when 4th edition does come around, and I know nothing about it. We don't know it's going to be indexes. It might be, it might not be. But if it does end up being indexes, or even if it's just like we have now, would you like to see Armies of Renown stick around? I guess that's the real question from me to everyone else in the chat to kind of round it off. I think I would like to see it because I honestly think for new people, it's wicked. You know, like, is it good, this Army of Renown? It doesn't matter. You're terrible. Just buy the box. Paint some models, play some games, right? Like, it makes that bit easier. And I'm all for...
learn the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Learn the game.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm quite familiar with the game, and for my Dead Elf army, I'm doing Soulblight, and I knew I wanted a big, pretty Nagash conversion as my centerpiece, right? And so I was like, sweet, I start with Nagash, but then I'm like, all right, well, these are the other things I want to put together, but I still want to put together an army that can play the game. And like going through it, it's like I feel quite confident with War Dollies and Warhammer and armies and list building and things. Not perfect, but confident. And I was like, holy crap, like where do I start? There's so many sub factions with so many abilities and spells and artifacts, and it's cool. I love that all those sub factions lean towards a certain unit types, certain styles of play, rah. However, I was also like, just trying to wrap my head around the amount that I need to do to be able to build this list and understand, because a Legion of Blood versus a Virkos versus an Avangori, like, it's so tricky to know which is which. And anyway, and like, I think that for someone being like, I'd like to get into KO, and being like, hey, here's a really cool, straightforward thing with like foot heroes, 1 unit type, and this, and you get to have a rad SEAL team, like Special Forces Commando vibe to your army, I'd be like, feed me, yes.
I agree. Nathan, what are your thoughts? What do you think?
Yeah, well, yeah, I like the way that Dad's just described that. Definitely. Because some like you said, the Soulblight book's insane. Like all the different variety of things that you can choose from. The KO book is similar with all the different footnotes and the
it
notes
is.
and what notes, and you like which barrack are you from and all of that. So it can be quite intimidating for somebody that has seen the models and then wants to pick it up and try and play the game. Having these armies of renown. So maybe, if they can build something like that into each book as just like a little starter type, like army of renown, basic army of renown that you can use to get into the book, and then from there you can branch out. That's cool.
I think important to note that Games Workshop runs on a minimal viable product process, so they only everything they do is just like the cheapest and quickest thing that they can produce. So I want to be clear. That's no disrespect to the creators. The creators just get underfunded to do their job. So that's a kind of perfect world situation. But I don't hate that idea. Like, I love like a stepping stone. You know, like you buy the starter box that happens to be close to a very good, 500, 800 point kind of army that you can play versus other starter boxes. That would be immense. They're not ever going to do that. Like, that's way too much. Like, they won't do that for 40k. They're never doing it for Age of Sigmar. But there is a perfect world where that exists. That would be really cool, I think. I think right now, I think all of that stuff, onboarding new players and all that other stuff is a little bit... It just gets to be a side conversation, because us as, if you're listening to this or watching this, you're a fan of Age of Sigmar or just of the Honest Wargamer crew, because we are great.
Or you just like gorgeous bearded men.
Exactly.
That's also a possibility. Like,
Exactly.
I would love to know if one of the people who tunes in on a regular basis is just like, they've muted and then just stare lustfully into our eyes in turn and are like, how luscious is that facial hair?
Yeah.
And if you're out there, thank you. I also love to look at a man's beard. It fills me with joy.
It's a pity that he can't hear you, because he's just got you on mute and he's just looking at your beard.
No, that's true. That's true. But that's okay. I want everyone to know that I'm okay with that person just being like, what fantastic facial follicles these gentlemen have.
But but in all seriousness, like, I'm stoked. I was played at an event at the weekend. Oh, I didn't tell you about playing at the event at the weekend. Fuck, I forgot to do that. I might tell you then if that's okay. Let me finish this point, and I'll tell you if that's okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, like, all the kind of content. The NDA people got some info, and they put some info out on Saturday. Yeah. And then, the room was abuzz. Like, oh, what do the dragons do? That's cool. Oh, I'm definitely going to get Big Bug. Big Bug's really cool. So much so that, Tom and Brett, round 5, who were playing close to the bottom tables, they were like, Rob, have you got some spare bases? And I was like, why? And they were like, oh, because Brett was using his Sylvaneth. He's like, I'm just going to try Big Bug out, round 5. And I was like, whatever you want, boys.
Sure.
Sure, that's fine with me. Right, so everyone was having a good time, but the enthusiasm was awesome, and it wasn't just because as a Cities guy now, which is what I am. Like, I'm hyped if there's a new Cities release, but also I was excited because Stormcast can ally into Cities, and I was like, oh, Ionis is really creepy and weird, but also really good in Cities. Like, you could use Big Bug in Cities, that's cool as well. So there's some really it's exciting for everybody pretty much, and I'm actually really happy about that, because it's fun seeing everyone buzzing about a release. And it's not everyone, obviously. I think some people are feeling a bit salty, like Death players are feeling salty and whatever, and Chaos players may be feeling a bit salty, but I'm sure that'll happen, and it's just really exciting. And most people normally also have more than one army,
Yeah.
I was this close to I was like, let's just go all in on Sylvaneth. Let's just do that. That's great. You can paint that up in minutes, right? Because it's just a brown or whatever. So I actually think we're in a content-rich environment, and it's actually quite exciting. That's what I'm going to throw out there. That's my thoughts to round it off.
Yeah,
cool.
Good. All right, nice.
Tell us about your event on the weekend.
Yeah, that's what we want to know. What did you take?
Because I saw a bunch of people tweeting, being like, if you haven't been to an event at the TSN yet, it absolutely slaps and it's rad. So
it's just
because
because
the toilet's like
a toilet downstairs, 11 out of 10. Hand dryer doesn't work though. Hand dryer broken. So
oh dear.
I know. No, the hand dryer in the main toilet upstairs does work, in fact. But yeah, the tables were great. Terrain was fantastic. Looked like it was painted by a legend. And then the tier was.
What do you mean looked like? Was it painted by a legend, or it just looked like that? Like it's actually painted by a bastard, but it looks like it was painted by a legend.
That's Dan. You've literally described me.
Okay, yeah, good.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Painting level, legendary. Personality, bastard.
Yeah. It was good. It was so I was running the event. I had to spare player, so therefore I got to play. I don't really understand spare player. This is one of those cultural things that's happened also in Warhammer that I find really odd. Like one time I had Math Mallow be the spare player, and he just won the event, and I was like, because I just paired him. I think maybe the spare player's job is to babysit the bottom tables. No. And I'm like, it should be like a house robot. Like, fuck.
Your spare player, all your spare player is, in my eyes, is someone that the TO's brought along. And if they've got even numbers, that spare player assists the TO. And if they don't have even numbers, they get a free ticket to the event. Because, like, the idea where it's like, oh, this person needs to lose, or like, I actually had this conversation at the tournament that I was just at with a couple of people. I was like, if you bring a spare player, maybe don't let them bring an optimal list.
Why?
You know, like, say you got, but I don't know, like, for whatever reason, to give him a handicap, but then let him kick 7 shades of shit out of everyone. Like, the spare player, if I come up against them, I want to play them. Like I've only ever played it in one event where I came up against a spare player round 1 because I got my absolute nuts stomped, and I know some people are into that. I wasn't, and neither were my dwarves at that point in time. Round 1, full stomping, spare player was my game. Round 2, and it was literally like just a gimme. Like I was like, why do we even play this game? Like, it was fun chatting to you, but you brought a terrible army, you made terrible decisions, and you just let me win the game. I didn't come here for that. I want to. If there's a spare player, they are just another player, and if they win the event, fucking, then none of the other players deserved it.
Exactly. Well, okay, so I had to run the event, and I was spare player, and thankfully it wasn't like full house, but it was still pretty busy. And then I just played spare player for the weekend, and so I took the event. So I remember I painted an army in a day before Castle. To go play
the Annihilators.
The Annihilators. So I played the Annihilator list, which was super cool. So just for everyone at home, it's 4 Knight Velexers with Meteoric Standard, a Lord Imperatant with Master of Magic and Arcane Tome, and then it's 5 units of 3 Annihilators with shields, 1 unit of Annihilators with Grand Hammers, but it's a unit 6, and then 2 units of 3 Aether Wings. 2 units of 3 Aether Wings, which is fun. And then I just had easily one of the best gaming weekends of my entire life. Like, easily one of the best. Like, everyone who I played was just an 11 out of 10 person, which was like that makes it much easier. I went 3-2. Like, I played Farron at the start. He was playing Nurgle with Glotkin, and that caused a real problem for me because, number one, his whole army is a 5-up ward save. So, like, and for people who don't know how it works, you basically drop 4 meteors, so everything within 6 inches takes D3 mortal wounds. You do that 4 times, so it's like 4D3. And then you drop Annihilators down, and when they land, they do some mortal wounds. When they charge, they're ogres on the charge. So whatever the charge result is, 4-up is mortal wounds. And I'm doing that 7 times. And then the Comet does AoE mortal wounds as well. So, like, on the turn where you go, and I'll tell you about that, it's the future. Like, it's so good. But, like, so I play Farron, and then one of the main ways that the army does damage is mortal wounds and also charging. And then Farron was running Glotkin, and he was running the 3 Maggoth Lords and some Plague Bearers. Basically, I would drop down, and he would just then charge either the Glotkin or the Plague Bearers at me, and then sloppity bar pipe at me and be like, can't pile in. I was like, oh no, this sucks. And then he just 5-up warded loads of the other stuff as well. So that was a real challenging match. I think I did quite well. There's 3 objectives across the not across the center, but diagonally, and basically turns. I went really big on turn 3. Because I took the kind of the top right objective, and I was like, so I don't need to fight for 3, I just need to fight for 2. and then and I was kind of okay in the middle, and then it just fell apart and it didn't work. So I was close. It was close, but it's also the first time I played the army. Like, so I was like, okay,
Yeah.
but he did great. He kept countercharging with the Nurgle stuff. It was really fun. Glockin's so good. The countercharge stuff is so good. Like, massive fan of that at the minute. It was really fun, and he was wonderful to play. Then I played Toby. Oh my god, Nathan. Toby's as mental as you are.
Did he bring all the spiders again?
He brought so many fucking... He was dressed as a spider for a start.
Awesome. Yeah. S tier immediately.
He was dressed as a spider. He kept giving me spiders. He had... his whole army was spiders and all sorts of other nonsense. But basically, first turn, he was playing Gloomspike Gits. He set up... and then I just gave him the turn because I'm a 2-drop. He moved his army kind of into the mid-board. I ran my whole army. Don't forget, all of the Annihilators are off the board. So I just run 5 heroes and 2 units of Aether Wings. Then I won the Prio. I took it. And then I just, and I mean this, nuked his army. Like, nuked it. Yeah? Absolutely. Right? It was just a disaster for him, right? It was like I was just channeling George Bush is what I was doing. I was just like fucking shock and awe. And then what did I kill? On one turn, I killed I just killed everything. I killed all of his wizards in one hero phase. Then I killed his scuttle boss in one hero phase, and then I just dropped everything. And then it became quite challenging actually because. I got some okay charges, and rock guts are just fairly tough to get rid of. 3-up armor save, all-out defense, and a 5-up ward. That just doesn't go away very quickly. And then the Annihilators with a 2-up armor save sound good, but if you fight anything with Ren 2, it's 9 wounds with a 2-up armor save. It falls apart. So that was my experience. But yeah, loved that. That was fun. And then I played. Then I was like, oh shit. And also, you got to remember, I was in complete aggro mode because I just tried to beat Nurgle up, and it was like saving everything, and there were ward saves. So I was like, I was like, do not give up. Yeah, you got to put all of the pressure in.
That was so. My last game, not to derail, was against Iron Jaws, and turn 1 he was so aggressive and around the board. I dropped my Bulgor turn 2, and I was literally looking at them, being like, "You need to work this turn. My only chance is for you to out damage them, and if you spike, if you go good, we've got this. If you fuck up, it's all over." And fortunately, in that game, the Bulgor did do their work. But I completely know that attitude where I was just like, my only way is to out Iron Jaw the Iron Jaws, and somehow it came off. So I feel like you just did that because Nurgle was so resistant to it that you were like Superman not knowing how strong his punch is.
Yeah,
and you just fucking took an old lady's head off.
Exactly, and that's exactly my attitude. I went into it and I was like at the end of turn 1, end of turn, my turn 2, Toby had just a couple of trolls left and Trug, who's a bastard to get rid of. Yeah, and I was like, right, okay. And that's all he had. And turn 4, he had nothing. But the entire time, I was like, no, you need to 9 million damage to one Spider Rider. Get it in. And then I played Ben with his Sylvaneth. And if anything, it was even worse. I was like, oh shit, how am I going to deal with this? What am I going to do? Like, okay, all right, I'm in range. And then me and Ben had this miscommunication as well because he was a 2-drop, I was a 2-drop. I rolled off. He was like. And I was like, oh, I've won the roll-off. Obviously, I'm going to take the turn. I'm going to get the choice. But I was tired, and I was doing all the bar stuff as well. I was like, I'll do drinks. Just put your models down. And because I only deploy 2 units of Aether Wings and 5 heroes. That's all I deploy. So I just deploy it. I'm like, can you charge me on the first turn? No. Right on the front line. It's just where it is. Yeah. And I deployed it and left. And then he deployed his stuff. But he deployed his stuff first, and I put all my stuff down. And then he was like, oh, I get the choice. And I was like, oh, I'm so confused. Did I not tell you that I was going to take the choice? I was like, what's happening here? And then we just talked about it. And then he was like, you said drop your models. I was like, I did, but it's because I'd already deployed my stuff. So, we had a chat, and then I was like, let's re-rack. And then so I took all my models off. He took all his models off. And then I just put all my models on in exactly the same place. All of them. Yeah. And then he was like, okay. Shit, what do I do? And because it was that battle plan where you in the box.
Yeah,
you know the one. And so he put it there. On the first turn, I killed a Warsong Revenant, a Tree Lord Ancient, Drycha, 10 Spite Revenants. And a branch witch. That was turn 1. I was like, yeah. And I said, Ben, this is easily the worst game of Warhammer you could ever have. The TO's been a cunt to you, right? The TO's treating you like a piece of shit, right?
You're playing the TO and he's treating you like shit. Like, Jesus.
Jesus, right? This sucks. But thankfully, because Ben had won a special prize we'd given out at the start, which was where we just randomly selected someone and gave them a guinea pig-based cake. Very weird. And then, yeah... it was just a whole cake that was shaped like a guinea pig, and he'd never been to an event of mine before. And I was like, "You win this," and then he gave him the cake, and he was like, "Oh," and I was like, "One thing though, you're not allowed to share it." And he was like, "Where am I?" He was like, that was his first day experience at the TSN arena. Yeah,
I love the concept of giving someone a family-sized cake and being like, "You're out if you share."
I said to him, disqualified if you share it. Yeah, and he fucking good go. He ate half of it in the first day. Bless him. Right, but I'm doing some.
I see. Okay,
I'm
Rob,
doing some AK Ultra shit. Yeah,
I want to raise you your next event. Have a bucket of like Carolina Reaper as hot as you can get at Wings and give it to someone. Be like, you can't share. You have to eat all of them. But if you eat all of them, you just win the tournament.
You win.
Like, you just win. It's yours. You get the top spot no matter what. You can lose all 5 games, but if you finish this bucket of wings by the end of the event, you get it. Nath obviously needs to make sure that the toilets are operational.
Yeah. He was great though. But I honestly, like, several times after our 45-minute game, I said to him, I was like, "I'm so sorry." Because the army can only do that thing. When you land, you do the mortals. When you charge, you do the mortals. Like, you don't have any, like, it's not like, I'm like, this is just how it works.
And unfortunately, Sylvaneth want to be in that little bubble. Like, they want to be in that castle, which makes them
and you're
so
forced
susceptible.
into it by the battle plan, aren't you? You've got to stand in a small little box.
Yeah, it fucking sucked. I'm not going to lie to you. He also made, like, no ward saves. As well on the war song, which was sad. But then the Sunday I got to play Dom, Trug's Dom. We talked about you, Nathan, for 10 minutes. What a superstar. Yeah. He's just a great dude, isn't he? Like, just fun. Dom. Great human being. And also, like, so he's playing Trug's Mega Mob. I played this, and this is a problem for me. I gave him the first turn. He got the ward save up. And I knew that was going to happen anyway. So he did the bonk stonks, got a 5 up ward save up. We kind of traded on a couple of objectives because we were playing the pulse. And then I just, like, turned to, I was like, let's just go, Dom. Let's just fucking go. And I took out, on the first turn, 3 foul waters, 2 dank holds. That was a unit. The dank hold boss, and I took Trug down to 3 wounds. Oh. Like, so close. So I took out the general, I took out the dank hold, I took out the fell waters, I took out 2, maybe 3 rock guts. It was fun. And then it was just a real back and forth. He swung back, I swung back, and then he was really brave, turns 3 and 4, where he went for no ward saves, just went for extra attacks and just kept punching Stormcast like they were made of nothing. And they were like, he was like, grip 1, stamp 1, eat 1. I was like, so that was really fun. And he ended up winning by a point. So that was tough. Yeah, it was a really good game. Really good. He's also a fantastic player on the tabletop. And then
Armies of Renown are busted, obviously.
Absolutely busted. Yeah. And then I played Andy O'Reilly game 5, superstar. He brought his kid in later, Rowan. Shout out to Rowan. Rowan won Best Child at the event. He won a giant bag of squigs. Giant bag of squigs. Yeah? 120 squigs.
Crikey.
Yeah. Models or
models?
Model? Okay.
Not real ones.
Yeah, so no, obviously 3D printed ones.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, why do you have 120 squigs that you don't?
Oh, so last year for Worlds, someone needed me to print them a squig army, and then I did the math wrong, and I printed 2 squig armies. And then
he gave it to a kid. Have this bucket of squigs, and he has an AK-47.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. It's like, what is it? Here, we're just gonna give you some meth, and then just a whole bunch of fireworks.
Well,
sweet. Okay, great.
Well, my brain went okay, the kid can't read. He's like 14 months old. So
So what, you gave him resin in a bite-sized amount, a large bag of bite-sized toxic resin. Is that what you gave that child, Rob? Just want to confirm.
I'm just saying that if I was
like, I'm pretty sure they're gonna look like grey nuggets.
that kid will either survive and become the best squig player in the world, or anyway,
Or not.
or not.
It's going one of two ways.
I don't get to choose. Shout out to Andy's wife. Andy's wife, if your child goes with the squigs, I apologise. It's not my fault. Or it is my fault.
Just roll a 4 up. Might come back.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go.
Out of Rob's toilet.
And then, I played Andy with his Soulblight Gravelords, which I was like, oh shit, this is going to be quite tough actually. Because he had Neferata, he had a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. I was like, again, healing's a bit of an issue because the army does a lot of chip damage. So, it does damage over time. And then he had some zombies, he had some Black Knights, there was a bunch of stuff. And I was like, oh no, he had some skeletons and some Black Knights. I was like, okay, here we go. And then I gave him the first turn, and then he was like, right, my 2 guys are ethereal. Neferata's ethereal now. This is ethereal. Let's go. And then my army just went, okay, let's just do it. I just dropped everything. I charged everything. I made every charge. So you got to remember, so Annihilators, what happens is when you make a charge with Annihilators, you roll the number of dice equal to the charge value, and any 4 up is a mortal wound. But you deploy 9 inches away, and when you drop, you get a re-rollable charge. So I've got like 5 units. So if I go big, if I roll like 4-10 charges, I'm basically doing 20 mortal wounds before I even swing. It's like playing Meat Fist. So I did that and the banners, didn't get the comet off. And the first turn I killed Neferata, a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, most of a unit of skeletons, a unit of dogs or something, I don't remember, something like that. And then something else. And just yeeted it off the board. And that was it. It was game over, basically. Like, on the first turn. Like, it was just like, Andy took it so fucking well as well. Andy was like, oh shit, that is not great. And I was like,
I love that you did that to Soulblight too. Like, I think that's one of there are a few armies at the moment, like if bad things happen to Null Myriad, we're like, good, let it continue to happen, please.
Yeah. So, I talked with the players who I lost the games with, and Dom's in Team England. Farron's been playing loads of events, as well. So like, talked about them. What would I improve about the list? I could get more practice with it. It's definitely not a list you could play with friends because it sucks. Like, it just sucks.
It's not a buddy list.
It's definitely no. Nathan's like, oh, come over, I'll play a game. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna play that. It fucking sucks. And then, but then I've written a better version, I think. So you can take Knight Judicators. They come with a unit of Griffhounds. The reason that you take the Aether Wings is because that gives you enough units on the board that everything can go in deep strike. But when you take a Knight Judicator, then they do a couple of things. They're quite expensive. They're 60 points more than the Banner Man. But what happens is you end up with 2 units of Griffhounds instead. And they become their own independent unit. So you get basically 1 drop becomes 2 drops, which means you can put another unit in the sky. Does that make sense? So then you can drop the Aether Wings and recycle the Aether Wing points into the Knight Judicators. So the list I've written now is 2 Knight Judicators, 4 Banner guys, 7 Shield Annihilators. I've dropped the Hammer guys. I've dropped them. And then the Comet. And then the idea is
no Imperatant?
No Imperatant. So that's dropped within 7 inches. But Dan, that's a coward's game because you want the 10-inch charge, right? You want the 9 or 10-inch charge. Like, 7 inches, like, whatever. I don't care. I just want to drop and hammer, right? But the Judicators, the Knight Judicators are really good because they have a shooting attack, which is like damage 3 at 30 inches.
Snipe,
yeah, and you could keep applying pressure from the early game as well. So again, an obnoxious tournament list, but fun. And I hope also, this is kind of like a side note, but we did the voting for best sports, and I got the highest best sports vote. I didn't give myself the best sports award because that was cunty to do, but I did get the highest. So, like, people must have enjoyed the games.
Well played.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. But shout out to Brett who got the award. He got 19. Okay, so that's great. Out of 25. That's amazing. So you should be chuffed. So that's my report. I got 3-2. Had an amazing weekend. Can't wait to play more Warhammer. Just 11 out of 10. Just yeah.
Wicked.
Yeah, so good. And also, if you want to play it,
Age award, at least.
if you want to play it, you can build and paint that army in like I don't know a day, right?
Yeah.
And it's so good.
I like that it's identical models over and over again, so you can batch paint so easily.
Oh, yeah, it's the same model all the time. Also, the army is tiny. You could literally stick it in a carrier bag or some pockets.
Yeah.
Like, it's not fragile. It's just like a fucking bag of guys. You need like 10 dice. That's literally all you need. Yeah, like you got. That's all you ever need. You could do it with some 9-inch sticks, 10 dice, and just go slot machine hunting, like Joel in the chat is saying. Yeah, which is so good. The best bit: get your opponent to roll the charge rolls. But like, roll that. Yeah, that'll suck for you if you roll well. Yeah, really fun. Okay.
It's like I love rolling for priority and not looking at the dice result, just looking at my opponent and being like, "Did I win?" It's the same thing, you know. Like it's you play the mind game, and like I like that being like, "Hey, can you roll my charge rolls, please?"
Yeah, it's so fun. It was really fun, but also similarly, like I was buzzing sometimes when I would just drop all the nukes. I was like, I am buzzing, but also this sucks for you. Like I rolled the full Yahtzee, a 4 banner men, which is 4d3 mortal wounds. I just did 12 mortal wounds straight away. Yeah, like straight off. And I was like, oh no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I think that's Dave's pointing that out in the chat. Like making your opponent roll the charges after you've just mortal wound bombed them is insane. It was so with the playing against the Meat King, playing against Carson, the bloke here who's just dominating with Meat Fist. He rolled a number of large charges, and we spoke about it, and he's like, yeah, but that's because if I'm within 12, I'll roll a charge. So I miss more than I hit, but you remember those big 12s. And now that you say that, thinking about it, him rolling big charges would have been infinitely more like crippling to me as a human being if he'd made me roll those big charges. And then I'm like, that's a 10, so you can roll 10 dice now to mortal wound me on that charge I rolled. Like that would have been the next level in breaking your opponent's spirit. And I like it. I like when people go after their opponent's spirit, but in a way that's not like, it's not aggressive. I'm saying, hey, can you roll my charges for me? If you fail them, that's fine for you. That's great for you, and it's bad for me. But if you succeed,
I do have an MVP for the list though, and it's the Aether Wings, right? Because everyone was so focused on these absolute dickheads doing all these mortal wounds and charging that like I was scoring like surround, border. I was like those Aether Wings scored me all of the battle tactics. They held objectives because they were like, go chase 3 fucking birds, yeah, or yeah, like all of these hammer dickheads are about to come and land and chase me. And I was like, amazing. Yeah. Like, it's really good. So, yeah, super hype about that. Hype that you get those for free with the Night Judicators. That's really fun. So good. Anyway, okay, we'll wrap up the show today. Thank you so much to Nathan and Dan. Nathan, let's try and get a game in soon, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I better learn some games for this thing that's coming up whenever it is. Soon, I think.
So what you mean is War in the Heartlands, but what me and Dan mean is being the social media lead for Age of Sigmar Worlds.
Oh, that as well, yeah.
/ the latex bunny daddy. That's an important role. I don't want people like as like the very social media lead, incredibly important. Latex bunny daddy, mascot, like possibly more. So let's just make sure we don't let that slide on the priority list.
Let's do it. Dan, are you going to get any games in anytime soon?
Yeah, I can't. I've got games coming up. Super excited. Sadly, I don't think I've got any tournaments until next year, which is heartbreaking. I'd love to get to some down in the US and onto the other side of the country, but I don't know of any that I can make, which is really sad. But got some games, and our kind of club is doing this cool.
What's the club called?
Just a club. Warp Dice.
Warp Dice. Let's go. Shout out to the Warp Dice crew.
We're doing we're doing a club game day, but then the week after, one of our like head honcho's Darren, who's just an absolute legend. He's got a full gaming basement suite that's gorgeous and a hidden reveal wall D&D room that becomes like a dungeon. It's rad. I'm told it's not a sex thing, but I'd sex in there. Not that I would, Darren. It's too beautiful. I'd never take advantage of our friendship like that. But unless you're into it, Darren, and then maybe we could kiss. But we're doing also like a new player day as well, which I think is really cool because there's a bunch of people who've been like, oh, I want to learn. So we're putting together like a bunch of little 1,000-point lists with some of the armies we have.
Oh, that's cute.
There are a bunch of people who've never played or haven't been in the game for a very, very long time. So they can come and give it a shot and get into it because it's golden age of war dollies. It's a good time. I mean, you know what would be really easy for them to get into the game, Rob?
An Army of Renown, baby. Army of
Renown.
Yeah. You're right. It really would.
Terrain of Renown.
Terrain of Renown. Now, Nathan, you laugh, but the Ogre Army of Renown features. Do you know this? That there's a new. You know how they have the Moor Pot?
Yeah.
They now have a new piece of terrain called the Moor Pit, and you can either have the Moor Pot or the Moor Pit. So there is already Terrain of Renown.
Wow.
There's Terrain of Renown. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And the Moor Pot, my favorite rule with the Moor Pot, Nath, you'll probably love this.
Moor Pot or the Moor Pit?
The Moor Pit, sorry.
Yeah.
The Moor Pit. You know how a monster can smash something to rubble?
Yeah.
If you fail to smash the Moor Pit to rubble, it has a rule called It Fights Back. And it does 3d6 mortal wounds to the monster that just failed. Nice. So it's like it goes and tries to punch this hole in the ground, and then the hole is like the Sarlacc from Star Wars and just goes and just eats them. I'm like, that is possibly my favorite rule that has ever been released.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Just a piece of terrain which arguably the Moor Pot should also have. Like if you punch and you don't kill it, there's a chance you slip and just fall in the pot. But the Moor Pit eating the monster that tries to smash it up is just perfection.
It's so good. It actually is a really good bit of terrain, Nath. It does like AoE mortal wounds. Like it's like legit, and and you can use the Moor Pit in normal ogres as well. So now ogres players have got like this choice between the Moor Pit and the Moor Pot. And basically, if you're playing gluttons, you take the pit. But if you're playing like Beast School Raiders, you take the pot, which is quite fun. Also, it looks like with teeth.
3d6 queens coming up.
Straight up, baby.
Yeah.
Straight up. Right?
Yeah.
So
the angry fleshlight.
Yeah. The mussy is we've started calling it. Yeah, the mouth. Anyway, listen, if you've enjoyed the show, then you can find Dan and Nathan on Twitter. Please do follow Nathan, especially he hates it. But Dan also because he's a ledge. So Dan Unsupervised and at Nath Prescott. And if you have enjoyed the show, you can always Dan and Nathan should also be on our Patreon Discord as well. So if you ever want to join Patreon and hang out there, you're welcome to. It's
Actually,
a weird.
Rob, I don't think I am.
I'm going to sort that out. I'll do that now.
Add me to it, and I'll just start. Like people can abuse me, and can I abuse them back? Do we have to be nice there? Like
it's the Patreon Discord, so no, it's just full of absolute nutcases. So
I'm just if they start because there's already enough Elf Dan shit out there, so I don't need that in my Discord life.
Yeah,
or at least I want to be able to swing back.
You can swing back, don't worry. I'll make you a mod.
I'm the Minister for Propaganda and Slander. I'll just start a slander campaign against the Patreon members.
Yeah. And I will let everyone know, so when I do set up that Discord, I will kind of like talk about it like on the show, obviously. And hopefully we should be back to a schedule of every Monday. Like when we can and if we can, which would be really good. Try and get some guests on as well, because I enjoyed having Noah and some other people on. That was fun. But I hope you've all enjoyed the show. Thank you to Nathan and Dan for being my co-hosts for all of these years. It's been an incredible 6 years. Only 11 left, Nathan, and then we can fucking end it. Right? Only 11 left. Right?
In 11, you old worlder. You 11. It's the end times. You just start releasing these rambling, insane streams, and then blow up the whole studio.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen. Lovely to talk to everyone. See you soon, and goodbye.